Hey, boys and girls out there, how's it going? Welcome to the 13th episode, talking about gun control with Musty Bruce. How's it going,
Hello.
Musty Bruce?
Oh, thank you. How are you?
Doing good. Going, Nix?
I'm doing good. Sorry, I was too busy talking to myself in chat.
Mango Monkeys showed
Literally
up.
yourself?
I got excited about talking to myself in chat, and then I forgot I was doing a show.
Nice.
No. I'm not saying that I'm Mango Mongeese. I'm just saying no one has ever seen Mango Mongeese and me standing in a room at the same time.
Yeah, that can be said. So
Anyway, what's up, boys?
I was wondering if you guys would like. I worked really hard on alerts for when we get follows and stuff. Would you guys like to do that real quick before we get into our topic?
Yeah, go.
Let's do it. Let me turn up the stream.
All right. All right. So, I worked really hard. I didn't make any of the sounds myself. I wanted to, but I'm just not that talented. So
well, you could just make shitty ones like I did.
Yeah. So here's the follow.
Hey, that's pretty
Super
good.
far behind.
Say what? Did you see that one?
Not yet.
Yep.
I'm way behind.
Oh, you're way behind.
I need to refresh.
Oh no. Did it now?
Yeah, I'm lagging super hard while watching the stream. Something's wrong with the way my encoding is or decoding, I guess, is working.
Is it working for you, Musty?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It did have a little bit slow there, but I just heard it live on the thing. It just went from my ear. So yeah, that was really good. iDub, yeah.
Okay, I saw the follow. I like the follow.
That's iDubbbz saying, "Hey, that's pretty good." Here's the subscription one.
I got boxes full of Pepe.
That was Charlie from It's Always Sunny during the conspiracy of the mailroom.
Yeah, the board.
Oh yes.
He's got boxes full of Pepe. Here's our donation one.
Wow.
I'm like so far behind. I don't know what's being weird about my encoding today.
Wow.
That one's like loud and obnoxious, but I like it. And then here's our hosting one. Now I did a lot of work. I actually had to download videos and audio files, trim them, cut them up, make it into a GIF. This is my work.
I have to do that for everything I do on stream.
Sorry, I just got the Charlie one going through my ear and it threw me right up.
Here's hosting.
Thanks.
It's honestly been a pleasure.
Oh, that was messing with me. You didn't trim.
Thank you.
What's
going on?
I'm sorry, I gotta wait till I see the thing real quick here.
That's from.
This is such a bizarre conversation at the moment because I'm hearing the podcast on delay in one ear and then I'm catching up with you.
Oh, dude, wouldn't it be great if we got a host for 1,900 viewers? That'd be great.
That'd be
that's
great.
good though. You didn't trim up your green screen enough, King Cord. So when you reach out to the right, it looks like you're touching Musty, and it's fucking with me.
Don't put him off.
Oh my god, dude! It's like my arm goes to England.
Yeah,
We're all adults here.
You were fucking with me. It looks like you guys are in the same room. That's messing with me.
That's crazy.
I know, wrong side.
that's really messing with me.
So,
See, if we all use green screens, it just looks like we're all in the same room anyway.
Yeah. Like
Imagine the fun we could have.
So we're talking about gun control, and I thought it'd be perfect to put shooting targets behind us. But of course, Nix has to ruin it with his background.
Yeah, that's shots fired. Oh, I feel like there's a lot of fucked up jokes that could be made today.
It so could be.
Mm-hmm. So
and I'm gonna accidentally make them all, and then feel really guilty about it each time.
Yeah.
I'm already destined for hell, so it's all good with me.
That's kind of what I figured too.
I've already gone apartment shopping, and
I think I'll be driving the bus.
How's the real estate
driving the
down
bus.
there?
It's really good. It's really good.
Better priced than here because
Market's warming up. It's all good.
Yeah, it's actually it's a lot more mild weather down there than people think.
it's really it's more like people don't give it credit.
Yeah, I mean it's not a bad place to live.
Although I was watching a stream earlier before we started this, and we were laughing about how like fucked up all the old Got Milk commercials are. Do you remember the old Got Milk commercials?
I remember.
Yeah.
And then there's the one where the guy's a huge asshole. He like dies after firing some guy, and he thinks he's in heaven, and he's eating like a big ass chocolate chip cookie, and then he goes to get milk out of the fridge, and all the milk is empty, and he realizes he's in hell, and it pans out and says "got milk," and "got milk" is just lit on fire, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that is a dark ad for the premise of drink some milk, man. Like that is some dark shit.
I always remember there was nothing like that, but the weirdest advert I ever saw was an American advert actually at that. It was for Just for Men. Just for Men, and it was like a woman in a sports car drives up to a building, and this baby boy comes out, literally a baby toddler, diaper, everything, in a little tuxedo, walks out, gets into the car. This like a scantily clad woman drives to a club. Bouncer goes in, you go, sir. He goes with all these women like dancing like crotch height with this baby and stuff, and then at the end it's like Just for Men. And it's just like,
no,
and
that's
the thing that
terrible ad.
But could you imagine if the roles were reversed?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like some like middle-aged guy in a loincloth drives up to a house, and this like little girl in a sundress walks out, and like they go to you'd be put in prison for even thinking of that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm positive the FBI is now raiding your house. I guess whatever your version of the fucking bureau is.
Ooh, I live in Yorkshire.
We just got hosted.
Hey, Blue, thank you for the
Blue
host.
the robot is hosting us. Thanks for that, Blue. All right, guys. So we're talking about gun control. Yeah. What do you guys think? You think it's bad? You think it's good?
She couldn't peel herself away from Terra long enough to come sit and chat, Lorelai.
How dare she?
Gun control is just not interesting.
She's running dungeons. You don't want to be a part of the gun talk? She doesn't
really.
she's
we're not angry, we're
guns.
just disappointed.
Yeah, tell her we're all disappointed.
Everyone's sad you're not here, they said. She says you can all deal with it. She's in a mood, it sounds like.
Wow.
Oh,
she's in a mood.
All right, we'll leave her alone.
There's no guns there.
Yeah, good thing you don't have any guns over there. So
I did. You actually sent it to me right after Lorelai. The message you sent me in Cord, I actually got from you right after Musty had just told me about the same event.
Yeah, the one in Florida.
Yeah, the Jackson, Florida Madden tournament that was
multiple shots fired at Madden video game tournament in Jacksonville, Florida. I think it's hilarious. It's in Florida.
Florida has a lot of it.
Like
Florida
lately,
has probably some of the worst stories.
Yeah, lately Florida's just been
got the biggest
up.
concentration of crazy in the States. Probably, I would
yeah, a lot of crazy, a lot of guns.
A lot of gators.
A lot of gators.
So one of you guys was telling me earlier that one of the players got shot in the thumb.
Complexities guy, yeah.
So like, is that his career right there? Like
he still managed to tweet though, so I find that quite ironic.
They said he's gonna make a full recovery. Hopefully he has some insurance on his fingers. He'd get a good payout from that.
Yeah.
Bulletproof nail varnish.
Dude, if I was ever a famous streamer, I would love to have insurance on like my fucking voice or my fingers, just on principle. I think it'd be funny to have.
Could you imagine though the insurance premiums they probably never have to pay out because streamers very rarely injure themselves, and then there's like one guy going.
The one guy that gets shot in the thumb.
Yeah. Why? Like his insurance agent is just sitting in the office like, oh god damn.
Yeah, they gotta pay out like $1 million some lawsuit, and there's like, how is that even possible?
You know he's gonna clip the article and like frame it, and put it in his office. The time I got fucked.
But realistically, how lucky is it to get shot in the thumb? I mean, and still be alive, like face to face with a gunman, shot in the thumb, and then he just he held his thumb and limped down to a gym or something, right? And just
I'll take no thumb over no life any day of the week.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Although,
and I chose a leg over my life, so you know, thumbs fuck off.
You gotta get a finger blown off though. Pretty much any finger is better than losing your thumb. I mean, the thumb is so important.
But the thing is, though, Xbox have got that new controller out, so it's fine.
That's true.
He'll be fine.
You just play claw for your whole life.
The adaptive thing, you can headbutt the controller. It's fine. It's no problem.
They even have. I've seen the prosthetic for like the extra, like the sixth finger.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'd be nothing to do a thumb if they don't already
Scuff
have
controllers have extra tags and stuff. He can just double clutch with one of his other fingers. It's fine.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
No
it'll
sympathy.
be good. He'll be fine. No matter what, he's gonna be fine.
So it said
But,
11 people got shot.
Yeah.
But only
And
4 dead, was it? How many?
4
are
dead, I think it was. Yeah.
4
Last
dead,
time I
11 people
approximately.
shot, including one guy who got his thumb shot. Was it shot off or just it was shot?
Just shot. He didn't get shot off. I think he's gonna make a full recovery.
Okay,
He's
cool.
yeah. Can we? I know we talked about it just slightly. Yeah, definitely look it up real quick, Space. Although there's not a lot of information, we pretty much told you almost everything known about it. Literally,
It
there's
was
not a lot about it. It
I actually have a
happened like
timeline on it right now with Sky News, and we've pretty much hit all the bullet points. Oh,
Yes.
poor choice of words, but all the bullet points. we've
all the
pretty much-
bullets. It's gonna be a rough day. It's gonna be a rough day to not.
Yeah,
make
what are you gonna
that.
do? I'm not gonna apologize for anything.
Yeah, how are you gonna do that?
No
We are
apologies.
firing on all cylinders here.
You gonna do
That's
fine.
more of
me.
a car
Put 'em
thing.
to-
Didn't land quite right. Didn't land quite right.
So Musty was telling me before the stream that so because I didn't really get a chance, I just skimmed through it, but like this was a protest for the I'm assuming-
Allegedly.
Yeah,
allegedly a
allegedly.
protest for the NFL
Allegedly.
players taking a
Yeah,
kneel.
you have to make sure you're careful choice of words because they don't know anything for
No.
sure yet.
The reports are at the there are rumors going around that moment that this is in response to the NFL protesting against police brutality, or depending on which side of the aisle you are. The left,
Yeah.
we know it's about police brutality. On the right, it's about disgracing the flag and the servicemen that died, and yada yada yada. So yeah, essentially that's what the reports are at this moment in time. They could change. They often do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Depends
for
on
sure.
if it comes out of Alex Jones's mouth or anyone else's. But it is what it is.
With what Space Dog said, were they aiming at the players or were they just does anybody have they released
It
anything
was a
about
restaurant.
targets?
It was a restaurant in Jacksonville where the actual tournament was taking place.
Gotcha.
Although it's very hard to find what's actually any video of what happened. Apparently, shots could be heard whilst the live streaming event was going on. So if
Yeah.
people were watching it at the time, they would have definitely known something was going on. Gunfire is not something that EA have added into the new game, so I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
into Madden.
Well, that's not. It's not halftime. So it's.
Can you take a knee during the opening
Yeah.
ceremonies in the
you
game?
just
Depends-
press
If you
squares.
get shot in the thumb, you might not be able to get back up again. But
But I don't think they weren't directly targeting players as far as we know.
I think they were just
were-
unloading clips,
Yeah, like it's like they didn't have a real plan. They were just
just
probably
causing
somebody
chaos.
who
that-
fucking knows at this point?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, yet another mass shooting by, depending on what skin color he is, will be classified as a terrorist act or just a lone wolf.
Yeah,
That's true.
So it's all about optics. Who's going to
Yeah.
politicize it?
Oh,
Who's
was
going to speak
Optic
about
there?
it first?
Oh, you're talking about okay. Sorry.
oh, was Optic there? Are you a
I can't- I
fanboy
can't
of some
have a
sort?
podcast here.
But yeah,
So, yeah.
I didn't want to see the video. I was just curious, like, was it another? They haven't released anything like about the weapon used, have they? I was curious.
No,
No.
I mean, it literally happened like 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
so
like
Yeah,
really
yeah.
recently.
It,
I mean-
it literally, I got the report as I think it was like less than an hour before we went live. So it was like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, what's going on? I was like, well,
Yeah.
first of all, I was like, oh fuck, what are the odds? And then I
Yeah,
went, well, it's
bad,
yeah.
America,
like,
so
yeah,
it's pretty good.
Would it have happened
Yeah.
even if we hadn't had the
It's pretty
podcast? I
good.
hope we didn't cause it. Like,
Yeah,
what,
so
if
I
it,
was
what
like,
if it was the
gun
what if it was some
control.
guy from last
Hey,
week that
that's pretty
heard us
good.
talking about doing gun control next week?
Sperm
And was like,
slurper.
oh,
Hey, we
thank
go.
you for that follow,
Thanks
Space
for that follow.
Dog. Space Dog. Who's that
Yeah.
dog?
Yeah, I mean, to put money on it, but not really. I would say it's either an AK-47 or it's some kind of AR-15.
Wow.
Don't we AK-47s are so hard to get in the U.S. though. I doubt it was. If
Well,
anything, it was
I mean,
It
how many?
depends.
But how many
They're
mass
pretty prevalent.
shootings?
They're pretty prevalent. They're in a lot of people's
Yeah.
collections, but they're
Yeah.
not
That's
used
true.
very often. I would say that. I'd preface it with that. They're the Russian-made AK-47s from like the 50s and 60s. There's plenty of them in the United States. The
Right,
China
right.
ones, they're pretty much trash, and not many people have them anyway. But an AR-15, I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later on. But firearms is something I actually pride myself on researching a lot about. I fired a few weapons in my time, even though I live in a country that's very restrictive on firearms.
Yeah.
But the AR-15 in itself is probably the most proficient mass murdering weapon of choice.
Right. It's
If there was,
it's
if
a
there was a top
popular.
10, it would be a number one. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Is the AR-15 pretty popular? And is it really popular in England as much as it is?
No,
you
well,
can't
no
get
one's allowed to own.
guns,
No
yeah.
one's allowed to own one over here. So I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it's something that we know. I mean, mostly from the gaming community. I mean, people obviously know. I mean, this is the thing. A lot of people get confused about the AR-15 as if it was some weapon that just suddenly went pow. Look at me. Everyone
Yeah,
uses me now.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, the AR-15's been around since the 50s.
Yeah.
The armor light, which is what the actual name is, not the fucking assault rifle, as many idiots who
Yeah.
try and argue against gun control will talk about, which is one of the points I was going to make later on. But let's get it out of the way real quick. The main problem with all this is that people on the left and people on the right, it's all about wording.
Yeah.
People on the left use wordings like assault rifles, fully automatic, and the right then get the get out of jail free card. Because, well, actually, that's the wrong wording. You're not supposed to use that because we don't have any automatic weapons. We had an automatic weapons ban in the 80s, which is very, very true. But then the right use things like, well, it's not an assault rifle, it's a sporting rifle,
Yeah.
or it's not. We don't use. It's not military style because the AR-15 can't be a military style. Well, newsflash, fuckface! It actually was made for the military. It was based on
Right.
the M16. The
Yeah,
M16
it's
is
an
an
M16.
AR-15,
Yeah.
which is used now to this day, or its little cousin, the M4, which is
Yeah.
also based on the M16, and is a heavier version of the AR-15. And in actual fact,
Right.
many military people, many Marines, many people in the service industry actually prefer the AR-15 to the M4 because of its proficiency, because of how accurate it is,
It's
because of how
accurate.
adaptable it is, and because of how reliable it is. So
Yeah.
that argument about it's not a military grade weapon. Well, fuck you. It still kills people.
Yeah.
It's effective.
At the end of the
it's
day, it still shoots
accurate.
people.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
and
Go
well,
on.
we haven't fully banned bump stocks here either, which is a real workaround.
Yeah.
That's like when people put trigger stops. If you're not into guns, imagine real life trigger stops essentially for your controllers. But the bump stock, every shot you take, the stock bumps you, bumps back into your finger, and turns it full auto. And
and with a
we
little bit of practice, you can become extremely proficient with it because it's
Yeah.
just about recoil. As long and especially, I mean, when you look at why it came into the news in the first place, which was the Las Vegas shooting last year,
Yeah.
and over a range of over 100-meter range from where he was, from that elevation, you don't even have to be proficient. You are
Right.
literally shooting multiple bullets into a crowd of thousands of people. The
Right.
fact that he didn't kill more was an absolute miracle, an utter
So
miracle.
lucky.
So I mean, it was it was a fucked up thing, and it was one of the more troubling ones because it doesn't. Do you not see how? Have you ever heard one conspiracy theory about Islamic terrorism when they use a gun? Have you ever heard one? Have you ever heard one false flag cover up when it's a brown person that's holding the firearm? But as soon as a white guy has the firearm, it's like, false flag. We heard there was a taxi down at the bottom of the building that heard firing from another place, and we can see that it was a different window. And it's just, it baffles me from across the pond. It baffles me. You guys living in the same country, I have no fucking idea how you guys feel about it.
Right. And space dogs, you're exactly right. It doesn't make a lot of sense, like, other than just that a lot of states are sometimes it takes time. It takes time for laws to catch up. So it's easy to ban something that everyone can agree is bad, but bump stocks are a workaround and not inherently a weapon. So it takes longer for legislation to pass.
Well,
It's
And,
because they're deemed as a cosmetic add-on. That's the
Yes.
reason why they're allowed to. Because, and again, the thing that will probably come up a lot in this conversation is the NRA, but not all
Yes.
gun owners. And in fact, a hefty proportion of gun owners despise the NRA just as much as a hefty proponent of people that hate all weapons despise the NRA.
Yeah.
The NRA in itself is a lobbying group
Yeah.
filled with a sack of disgraceful people.
And they're successful and rich.
yeah, of
they have
course.
a lot of power and money.
They have incredible. I mean, they're the sole reason why. Try looking up statistics of firearm deaths in your glorious country. There aren't any because most actual studies are conducted by universities or colleges. And guess what happens if they conduct a study? They get their funding yanked because NRA sponsors almost every big university in the country that just so happens to do statistics. Isn't that fun?
NRA is big here in the Midwest, where me and King Court are from. I mean, everywhere in the Midwest.
Yeah,
like,
they sponsor our
open
university.
flames. NRA, yeah, the NRA is definitely a huge proponent in the University of Nebraska here in UNL in Lincoln.
Mm.
And
Well, we
yeah,
don't have any of that in the UK, so they can suck my fat one. I don't give two shits about it.
lobbying. We could do a whole. I would love to do a podcast on lobbying one day, just purely across all topics. Because
Have
it's
you
so
guys seen
interesting.
the documentary that Michael Moore did, Bowling for Columbine?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
That was
Where-
that's actually
when
my
I went and saw it at
favorite
the
one he
cinema when
did.
it very first came out. In actual fact, it was. I mean, as much as I'm not a big fan of Michael Moore. I must admit, I think he's a very convoluted guy who basically makes up a lot of shit himself. He's not.
Yeah.
He's by no way means is he the speaker of truth on the left, but far
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
But that documentary was very eye-opening as the mentality behind the people that conducted Columbine, but
Yeah.
also the way the media portrays information that with 5 minutes research you could completely discount it. Like the whole fact of video games were a cause
Right.
of it, even though the
Mhm.
shooters themselves actually hated video games.
Yeah.
The fact that the Marilyn Manson was blamed for one portion of the
Yeah.
in actual fact, they fucking hated Marilyn Manson. It was just seemed like, well, who can we? There's always a blame game, and
Mhm.
they want to blame anyone else but themselves.
Right.
Mhm.
For
That
sure.
that's one of the biggest problems. CNN, NSBC, MNSB, whatever they're called, MSNBC.
If you just put any number
Fox.
of letters together,
I
you'll
don't know,
hit
I
one
was just fucking going for it.
CBC,
glorify-
LBC, JBC.
the BBC.
Yeah,
They all glorify war. They all glorify
Yeah.
violence. They all glorify death.
Well, that's
It's-
our country. Our country kind of glorifies all that. In
Us as well. The Western world glorifies it. The Western world filters death in a very bizarre way. I can when we drive our kids to school, there's an advert just about accidents on the roads where it talks about the guy's lungs filling with blood and him taking his last breath. And it's at like 7 o'clock in the fucking morning. I've got
Oh
like
my
six kids
God.
in the back of the car going, "What?" It's like, but that's the funny thing. No one turns to advertising or no one turns to news consumption and goes, "Well, maybe you should tone it down a little bit. I don't really want to see dead
Right.
bodies when I'm eating my cornflakes."
Mhm.
But playing a video game, fuck no, can't do that.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like to back just real quickly, you know what I really don't like about people like Michael Moore is that even though I respect the job they do, and this is on both sides, like protesters, I hate when Michael Moore like goes to a place, is like overly crazy obnoxious,
Yeah.
gets thrown out, and then he's like, they just don't want me saying the truth. I'm like, dude, no, you're just being an obnoxious dick in their meeting. Like,
So that's why I brought it up, because I'm pretty sure in that movie he has an interview with like the head of the NRA at his home.
yeah,
Yes, he
yeah.
did. Yes, he went to speak to Charlton Heston, I believe, as well.
Yeah. And like he made them believe like he was there to like promote the NRA and make it look like
Yep.
really good. But then when he got in there, he was like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
ambush
Dick
interview
mode.
basically.
And that's
Yeah.
okay, but that's a dick thing to do, and you can't pretend people don't want to know the truth when you're just like,
Yeah.
dude, that's kind of a dick move.
Well, it's like Al Gore with like the whole the weather change and global warming. I mean,
Yeah.
he did a good thing with bringing eyes to a subject matter that needs to be spoken about more, but he also embellished a lot of shit, and he
Yeah.
created a lot of turmoil because of that. And I don't get it. I don't get why people don't get it through their thick fucking skulls. Speak about the truth, and people will listen and take notice. The moment you say anything that can be taken advantage of, they're going to go, "See, he lied. He lied about this, therefore he lied about all of it."
It's true.
It's
Yeah.
the
It's true.
stupidest. It's the stupidest standpoint. That's why I can't stand. I mean, the guy last week, that kind of sent. Well, he didn't hijack, but he kind of wanted to talk about guns a little bit, whilst you guys were talking about corporal or capital punishment.
Right.
He rattled off a load of tropes from right-wing positions, which I've got no problem with at all.
Yeah.
But back it up. Have so. And he started talking about London, which we'll touch upon later on. But he was talking
Right.
about knife crime over here, which is a problem. Absolutely. But then if you do the fact that not to be horrible, but the fact that I have an American person talking to me and saying your knife crime is terrible. You've had 200 deaths countrywide of that this year, and then I look at the statistics and go, how many people died of fucking more people died from fists in your country than did of all weaponry
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
entirety of the last 3 years. In this country.
We are a murder capital, that's for sure.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not the murder capital. It's just the fact that you tend to consume information rather differently. Not you guys, but as a country as a
Yeah,
whole.
yeah.
It's
Mhm.
kind of like you have a very good filtration system of like, well, doesn't speak to my beliefs, so next.
Yeah.
That one
Correct.
does.
Yeah.
I'll believe that one. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
President's
actually
a cunt. No, not at all. Fake news.
right. Well, sometimes you forget. Like I literally, when I went to go look at the new shooting, I literally had to pull up a chart from a company I was hoping was non-biased about news bias, and because I can never like I'm a big CNN fan, and CNN
Yeah.
does skew. They skew liberal. Technically, I think
Yeah.
they would be considered skew
Mm,
liberal, like
yeah.
lightly. Like if skewed is the light, but like. I was looking at a chart trying to see what the most neutral we have, which might be the BBC. But
And even they're considered extremely biased in this country. But I
yeah,
mean,
that's what
by
I mean.
comparison, they're actually pretty decent.
Yeah,
to be honest with
it's
you.
so hard when you want to know something. I know it's true everywhere because everyone has an agenda, but it is
Hmm.
so difficult to find a place to consume information that you can really rely on.
That's
Because
why
I
I-
watch a lot of liberal skewed stuff, and that's great
Yeah.
when I'm enjoying it. But it's not what I want to do if I'm trying to fact collect either.
Well, this is why I tend to kind of actually consume quite a lot of right wing media because I actually want. Because, you know what, the worst thing is when you discuss something with somebody, if I have an opposing view to somebody, but I then don't know the basis of where their opinion is brought from, then how
Yeah.
am I supposed to get through to that person, or how am I supposed to enlighten myself? Because it doesn't mean that the left is by no way means always right.
Yeah.
And the fact is, neither is the right. That's why the middle ground is the ground I like the most. Because you know what? You take a
Right.
little bit from here and a little bit from there. You use your brain and you go, shit, that's how it's supposed to be. Not go, well, lizard people made the frogs gay, so, fuck everyone else.
King Court's over
Obama
here like,
slept
wait,
with
wait.
boys
That
and
happened.
this and the other.
That happened. They're putting chemicals in the water, turning the frogs gay.
Did you, really quickly, the Young Turks, again, an organization that I don't agree with entirely, but I do enjoy their kind of premises. But they had a quiz of which there was 4 headlines from InfoWars.
Oh,
One was a real fake, so one that they made up, and other 3 were real editorials that they put on their website.
and you had
And
to pick the fake one.
You had to pick
Oh,
the one, and one
no.
was leftists want to change the word vagina to front hole. One was John Kerry visited Antarctica and shot a laser beam at Hawaii, which diverted a hurricane.
What?
One was something
That
about
one's too
Hillary
ridiculous to be real. I mean, that
Hillary
one's so
Clinton.
ridiculous, it has to be
Hillary
real.
Clinton birthed an alien, and I forget.
God.
And something about Acacia Cortez. Some weird shit about.
Yeah.
That she was 3D printing UIDs for for.
Okay, that laser one is so specific. I guarantee
It was true.
that's a real
I
one.
watched
Yeah.
it. That actually
That
happened.
that
They
laser is
thought
a real one for sure.
John
because
Kerry shot a laser from Antarctica, and yet he can't win a presidential race.
Yep,
He should be running the fucking planet if he can do that sort of shit. That's a superhero move.
No way.
That's so ridiculous that you just know it's real because no other human being besides Infowars could think that shit
Oh, it
up.
was hysterical. It was, but that's the thing. The thing is that people, there's so many right wing avenues that are sticking up for Alex Jones, and I don't think he should have been deplatformed in that way. Let the hate speak. Let him fucking speak. I don't care. Just let him spew it all he wants, but just know that what he says is bullshit. But
Right.
you've given him way more of a platform by removing him from everywhere.
Yes.
You've basically validated him to every kook in the entire world.
Plus, it's
but
easier if he's around because then you know, like, if someone's like, "I saw it on Alex Jones," then you just know,
Yep.
you're like, "Oh, so you're an idiot." That's
Yeah.
helpful.
It's a pre-indicator. It's almost like an icebreaker. Where did
Yeah.
you get that again? Infowars. Okay, I don't think we can be friends.
Yeah, it's a nice like safety argument area. You're safe to. It's good. It's good to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, I mean, I got on. I mean, that's the thing. He was actually one of the places I always went to whenever there was a terrorist attack or some huge thing that would happen in the world. I would always look at him. I'd always look at the Guardian because that's it's very left in this country, but it's also pretty trustworthy-ish, depending on who it is. Reuters has always been pretty neutral. And And then I always check out like the people like Ladu Crowder and the kind of YouTuber, like Philip DeFranco is another guy that actually I think he's about as pretty middle of the ground as you're ever going to get. He
Right,
seems to be not let his biases take over at all, apart from if it's something sexual like with kids or something, because I think he's had stuff that's gone on in his life with that, so he gets really fucking het up about that. But generally with this sort of stuff, he's very, very, he seems to do his fucking work. He doesn't say things just off the cuff and then go, oops, got it wrong, which is what a lot of people do now. It's just like, it's not even a case of who's right, it's who's first. It's like, I'm the first person to report about it. I'll just say a load of shit and then detract it later on. But people don't generally go back and go, well, let me check and see if that was true. It just doesn't generally happen. But
we can just do the Trump thing and just say, oh, that's fake news.
Right.
Even though there's like clear video and audio of him saying
he's had a fantastic week, by the way. Can we just have a moment of silence for all of Donald Trump's friends that have been given immunity by the federal government to
he's having a rough one,
pour
man.
dirt over it.
I think I'd be planning my escape at this point, digging some tunnels out from under the White House.
You're literally you're gonna have, just look south. You're gonna have a few spits in Alabama and in Florida. They might get a bit pissed off about it, but the rest of us will just kind of go, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, President Pence. Oh shit.
Oh God, that monster.
I'm like terrified for Pence to step in office.
It could be worse. It could be like President Donald Trump Jr. or fucking Reince Priebus or something like that. You know?
I guess so.
Pence is definitely a monster. If you're a liberal, Pence is a monster.
For sure.
But at least he won't embarrass us. At least he'll look presidential and stand at the podium like it.
He'll have pride.
Put it this way, I don't think you'll ever have a storyline for the rest of this term where it would say President Pence tweeted today. You would just won't hear that. That would just not be a thing anymore.
It would just be generic stuff like President Pence ate spicy mayo today, and
exactly. He's now wearing a new off-white shirt. It's called Aggressive Nutmeg.
Oh God! But seriously,
President Pence's wife is living in another house outside of the White House.
You
have
gotta
to
be
have at least
really
3
careful.
floors between them at all times.
Dude. But it's so funny. It's funny because Pence is such a monster. In my opinion, obviously that's pure opinion, but. It's funny that he's so funny to make fun of because he's like a psychopathic monster, like that's like pro conversion camps and like it's just brutal. Have you
ever heard the analogy of the swan? So the swan looks really graceful on top of the water, but if you look underneath, you see like the legs like crazily battling away as they're swimming away. That's what Pence is. He's like this like really stony faced vanilla beige fucking
Snow White hair.
He looks like the generic president.
He would watch grass grow, literally.
And he looks like who you would cast to play a president in a movie. Like he'd be in like Die Hard 5 as the president, or like Lethal Weapon 8 as the president, or something.
Oh yeah, he definitely looks good.
You look underneath the surface, and he's like scratching himself with the crucifix, and like, "Power of Christ compels me." He's like. I mean, he's a terrifying human being, but at this state, I mean, I'd fucking take. I don't know who I'd take. I would take.
It doesn't feel good.
Literally anybody. Literally anybody.
Yeah.
Can't we get? Doesn't the White House have like a cat we could like fucking use for a little bit?
We got plenty of cats.
That's how I voted for. That's how I ended up voting for Hillary. Like Hillary wouldn't have been my first pick at all. But it was definitely anything but Trump was my pick. And
President Whiskers is now going to give the State of the Union. Like,
oh God!
I can just see like a cat on a pillow right next to a button that says "Nuke them all."
Fuck yeah!
And it just someone like stretches out. Boom.
Well, the lobbyist it'd be fucking easy. They just send tuna. You just smear tuna over a bit of paper.
That's actually not too far off what we do now. I mean, you bring President Trump a fish fillet. Like, President Trump, I need this passed. Here's 3 fish fillets.
Yeah.
Oh, President Trump, I hear you have massive hands and an even bigger penis. By the way, could you sign this for me, please?
Here's a KFC bucket of chicken, some McDonald's, and sir, your tie isn't overgrown at all today.
Mexicans are all rapists and murderers.
It's like, thank you very much. Please give me a taco salad from my Trump hotel.
Did you see his interview when the woman from Fox News kind of went, so what would you grade yourself so far? And he went, A+. And I was like,
Nobody
A
gives
plus out
themselves
of what?
A plus either.
Yeah.
Like even a grade schooler asked by a teacher what you would give themselves, everybody knows you go with like a B-ish. Like you never give yourself the A
Yeah.
plus.
Even
Don't
those
be that
egotistical
guy.
pricks would be like, well, I'll give myself a 9. You know,
Yeah.
no, A plus.
God, dude.
Wow.
Well,
All
anyway,
right.
guns.
Let's get back to
To our
guns.
original topic. It's easy to get off topic because anytime you're
It
talking
is.
about lobbying and political stuff, it's just so intertwined that it's hard to
Yes.
separate out individual things. So let's just do something easy real quick. What's each of your guys' like overall, just if someone's like, hey, what's your stance on guns? How would you describe it for each of you?
Okay.
That's a tough kind of question to answer, but if you just had to
It's a little tough.
broadly, yeah, like just in general.
Yeah. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first, Musty?
I don't mind. You can go first. I don't mind.
All right. So
Your show.
I kind of went over it a little bit with Loreline during the Q&A on Friday night.
Mhm.
But basically, I'm kind of where I'm at for our country. I think we need a big restriction and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
I think pistols. I'm still sitting at. I think you shouldn't. 9 bullets should be more than enough.
Yeah.
Right. Like one clip, 9 bullets. That's all. You don't need like 100-round clip in your fucking Glock 19. Okay. Like 9 bullets is enough. You're gonna get it, buddy. And I think I think hunting weapons besides the AR-15, because I don't really classify that as a hunting rifle.
Mm-hmm.
I think hunting rifles can be around, but I also think that we need to put some kind of regulation on ammo size. I think 50 cal is like fucking overkill. And citizen should have a 50 cal.
No
whatsoever.
human needs a 50 cal bullet for anything.
Who are you protecting your house from? The
Yeah.
military.
Yeah,
right.
Military's got a tank outside my door. I need my
They
fucking
can't be
Desert
Russians.
Eagle.
Yeah, it's so that's part of it. I mean, like, I'm not saying I definitely think to some degree. Do you guys think again, not super in depth because I want to go over each of your guys' opinions, but do you guys feel like the knee jerk reaction or the slap shot of like everyone being like defend from the government, defend from invasion, is that just old? Like, is that even a realistic possibility, or is it something that people just say as a defense, even though it'll probably never come to pass?
They say it because it's the only excuse that's written down in verbiage on a constitutional bit of paper. That's the
Yep.
only reason why that is even an issue. There are plenty of other things regarding race, slavery, even things like wedlock that
Yeah.
are written down in the Constitution that people decide to not read at all or pay attention to. So
Right.
the only reason why is because you follow the way this works is you follow the fear, and that's where the profit is. So
Yeah.
you always look, if somebody is bleating about protecting somebody's rights towards something, the automatic response should be, well, where do you get your profit from? And if your profit then ties into that, I'm sorry, you should not have an opinion about it. It's just how that works.
Yeah.
And the only reason why that whole protect yourself against a tyrannical government in the form of a militia, which is the thing that people always leave off.
Right.
And then when you
right,
talk about
right.
muskets, they go, well, muskets were still semi-automatic. Well, okay.
Muskets were
We still,
semi-automatic.
I shit you not, there was someone that had an argument about, oh, well, you still had automatic weapons available. I mean, they came in a cart and you had to have a horse drag them around
Yup.
and you had to turn a crank to make them work. But yeah, it was an automatic weapon. But it's the depths that people go to that gets me. My standpoint is this: in the UK, 100% against any firearm whatsoever, unless you are a farmer and you are protecting your land, which you can still legally do in this country. You can still own a shotgun to protect yourself against predators. Although we don't have mountain lions or cougars or anything like that. We pretty much have foxes, the occasional angry squirrel, and travelers. That's pretty much all farmers have to protect themselves from. We don't have wolves, we don't have bears or anything like that.
Right.
In the US, well, you have over 300 million guns in that country anyway, so we're not going to be taking them away anytime soon. Number one.
Mhm.
What the biggest change that you guys should adopt is taking away the word the right to own a firearm. A right is earned. You earn the right in order to own something that can potentially kill yourself or others around you. I don't care about it. What else in this world are you trusted with? In can I?
Yeah.
Can you go? The
Not
fact
even
is,
a car. You can't even get a
all you
car without
need,
being licensed.
but all you need to buy a firearm. It's not like you have to hand over your "I'm safe, I won't blow your head off" card. All you need is a driving license.
2000. Was
So
it
a
the
driving
was the new
license.
Madden tournament 2019? Madden 19
Yeah, it's
tournament
Madden
in
19.
19.
Jacksonville? Yeah, it was at Jacksonville Landing at for the 2019 Madden tournament. That's where the
Yeah.
shooting was down at.
But yeah, no, the all you need in many states is a driving license as proof as ID, and then
Right.
obviously you do a background check, which takes an X amount of time, unless it's a private sale in certain states, in which case you can actually just walk away with the firearm.
Yeah,
You fill out a
we
bit.
do that here.
Yeah.
You can go to
Yeah.
a gun like when they
It's
do
called
gun
a gun
shows here,
show. Yeah.
yeah, you can just walk into a gun show down the street, walk out with a gun.
You
Like
basically,
nothing.
you basically walk under a tent until
yeah.
there's
Exactly.
this tent full of tables with firearms, and you just say, "Hey, that's a pretty one," and they go, "Well, you're a pretty guy. Here you go."
Yeah.
And then
How
you
much
walk
you want
out.
to buy? Do you want some ammo? What
Yeah.
would you like? What
It's-
sight would you like with that? Would you like the one that has the dead child on the front of the optic?
Yeah.
What would
Right.
you like?
You're like, "This one was
It's
used in a
literally-
murder, and it wasn't
it's-
solved."
Yeah.
It's actually harder to get the driver's license that you use to buy the gun than it is to get
Yeah.
the
Okay.
gun.
It is.
Put it this way: if it's easier to go into the Mormon state and buy a fucking beer than it is to buy a firearm, there is something very wrong with that turn of events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. The over here, basically, essentially, we had one mass shooting in 1993, I believe, at Dunblane, where a teacher killed a load of children. Very sad and horrible as it was. And we had strict gun laws even then.
Yeah.
So we had one mass shooting, and the government went, nope, that's it. You now have everything's taken off the table. That's why when you have shootings over here, more often than not, it's antique weaponry that's used. It's wartime weaponry, or it's starting pistols that have been remilled to accept firearms and alike.
Yeah.
Or you get sawn off shotguns from like fucking years. So because some farmer's had his house burgled, you just don't have it over there. Do you know in the last 2 years, the entirety of the UK, so you're talking 60 million people, our police force have pulled the trigger 7 times. 7 times.
We've pulled
That's
the 7.
every single police officer in the entire country. And bear in mind, only specialist firearms officers are allowed to carry weapons in this country.
Yeah.
They're called
specialty.
SO19. It's a very extensive process. If you have any sign of any mental anguish whatsoever, you are not allowed anywhere near the firearms. You are tested continuously. You are under continual training 7 times.
We've probably pulled the gun trigger 7 times since we started the podcast.
Well,
in
to date,
America.
in this year,
Yeah.
you've lost 17,000 lives due to firearm deaths alone.
Yeah.
That's just that's pedestrians,
Yeah,
normal,
right.
average people. And the amount of times I've seen video after video after video of police officers only going from stop to shoot within a heart. And that's what I think a big problem in your country is the fact that you basically if you go into a conflict and you have every option from talking to shooting, and you go straight from 0 to 99, you're only left with option 100, which is pulling the trigger.
Right.
And that is the major. Your police force, from what I know, has once you've passed your initial tests, are not tested after that. You don't have follow-up training. You're given your firearm. Often people that perform shootings and end up killing people, and even police officers that are looking at charges, resign, and then go join a different police department down the road.
Yeah, I was just
We
gonna
have
say
a
that.
name for them. Yeah, we have a special name for drifting police officers.
They shoot a black kid.
Of the Twitch one.
Then they resign before they get fired or public ridiculed, and then they go join the sheriff's office or the state troopers.
Yeah, they'll do that.
It's like you have I don't know how au fait you guys are with it. I mean, you guys know about mixed martial arts. So you guys know about the UFC and that sort of thing.
Right,
so
right.
one of the most prevalent arts within that is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
And there's the family practitioners of that called the Gracie family, who originate from Brazil, but they very much, I mean, they invented UFC essentially, but they they reside within the US, and they teach law enforcement officers, and they've showed continuously over and over again that the law enforcement officers that are taught their form of Brazilian jiu-jitsu in order to stop their weapons from being grabbed at, and have the confidence to go into a conflict and know, well, I'm going to be able to control my weapon and therefore control that person that's under suspicion.
Yes.
Guess what? They don't kill people. It's people that are terrified for their lives because all they see is the continual news cycle. Their colleagues being vilified, that they are automatically go, I'm going to get shot. I'm going to get shot. I'm going to get shot. So as soon as they come into anything that they may perceive as conflict, like, oh, black guy must have a gun, kill. Or it's like, it's shoot first, ask questions later, which is the stupidest way to conduct themselves. And yet the problem is, you have a government, you have government agencies, you have unions, you have investment groups, you have lobbyist groups that all back those people up. Yeah. And until you tackle that, you are never going to get to the bottom of it. You're never going to get to the bottom of it.
Go ahead, Nix.
Oh, well, I was going to say, not to mention the pure corruption of the fact that if you aren't that kind of officer, if you disagree with that standpoint, your fellow officers will literally leave you to die in the streets. They won't provide backup. They will, like, I mean, it's a really scary, toxic community.
See, the problem that I'm seeing, though, is, like, I'm not for cops having guns and shooting people. But they're replacing the gun with the projectile taser. But they're not giving them proper training on them. They're just turning around and killing people with the tasers by holding it. Right. After so long, it builds up lactic acid in the body. Where it's,
they have a heart attack.
They have a heart attack, and they can either die on the spot or die in the ER. So I would rather have cops out there trained in Brazilian jiu-jitsu than fucking giving them a taser.
And how about we teach our cops how to talk? How about we teach people how to have a conversation? How about we teach people how to engage with their neighborhood, with their community?
I've actually had the guns pulled on me by the cops once just because I tried to get out of a speeding ticket by running away. I literally, the cops tried to pull me over. I zipped away. I hid, like I pulled into an alley and I hid. And about 20 or 30 minutes later, they finally found me and they ripped me out of the car with guns like pointed at me, like, and threw me on the ground basically. And trust me, I never made that mistake again. But I mean, I was a middle class white kid. I was lucky. I could have gotten shot that day. But beyond that, go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, did you see that video not so long ago of a white guy that was? I think he was in. I want to say he was in Vegas, but essentially he was in a hotel. They were fucking about. He was a middle class white kid, just being a dick in a hotel essentially, and he was brought out of his room at gunpoint. The police officer was making him do like the most ridiculous things, like crawl on his knees, then get up, then put his hands behind his back and do this and that. And then he ended up shooting and killing this kid.
Yeah, he was doing everything that the SWAT officer told him to do. And he still shot him anyways.
He still shot him and killed him. And the guy was drunk as well. So it wasn't like the guy. I mean, it was just like pat your head, rub your stomach, roll around, jump up and down. It's like it was that sort. And he was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And the guy had "fuck you" written on his weapon. Now, would that not be an indicator of maybe that guy should not be in charge of a weapon?
Yeah, that guy's not mentally stable.
Because, I mean, motherfucker, if you're on the SWAT team, you should be able to take one drunk dude. Like, that's your job. Your job is to take on the worst that we have to offer.
Yep.
And you can't take down one drunk teenager.
Yeah, but that's partly because of the unions, because the unions have made it so that you don't have to take another physical once you've passed out. So once you become a police officer, you never have to take another physical. Yeah. I would never want to be a police officer because I'm overweight. I'm not in shape. I'm not chasing anybody unless I have a car. And even it's going to be rough.
That's why we have so many fat cops around too.
Yeah, but we have it here too. We have the same sort of problem. But the thing that we have problems in this country. We've had our police officers stripped. We've lost like 20,000 officers over the last couple of years because of austerity cuts. You know, that very brilliant right wing thing of going, well, we'll save money by cutting everyone's service, and then go, oh, we've doubled the debt. Oh shit. But anyway, but basically But the thing is, I mean, I used to be a bus inspector within London, so I used to check people's tickets and validations and so on and so forth. And I used to work very, very closely with the Metropolitan Police and also what's called the Territorial Support Group, which is basically the people that knock down your doors. They're SWAT, but without the weaponry. So they don't carry firearms. They just aggressive officers that don't take no shit, and I mean they're fabulous guys, but I would not want to get into an argument with any of them at all.
Right.
But the one thing that they all have is the ability to talk, and the amount of times you have, I mean, imagine having to deal with a situation where you don't have a firearm, where your options are your mouth. A lot of officers now carry tasers, or almost all officers have CS gas, which I unfortunately had the pleasure of having full blast in the face, but.
You've gotten hit with that?
Yeah, I had one when I was a teenager, when I was being a prick and I knocked a policeman's helmet off. And then
so you had it coming a little bit.
Yeah, it was outside my own house, but you know. And then the second time was when I was actually restraining somebody on the floor because a guy was basically trying to attack a bus driver.
Yeah.
And then he tried to attack me, but I was like at least 37 stone then, so it was just like, well, I'm just gonna sit on you until the police turn. So put him on the floor and then sat on him literally, but then the police couldn't get a hold of him properly, so he just pulled his CS gas and was like, if you don't stop moving, I'm gonna spray you. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then he kept moving and then he sprayed him and I got full bore in the face, and it's capsicum, so it's basically essence of chili.
Brutal,
and it's like you have diarrhea of the eyes. It's horrendous.
Yes. And it's gross because like that thick snot is like just coating your face.
It won't stop. It literally will not stop. And and the people, they say, "Oh, we'll pour water on your eyes." Well, fuck you. Water does not work.
No.
It does not work in the slightest.
You're supposed to use milk, I thought. Like
there's a guy on YouTube who he was like, I developed a spray that's supposed to neutralize pepper spray or whatever, like bear spray or whatever, which is essentially the same thing. And he got some other guy to test it. He's like, okay, spray me with the pepper spray. And he sprays him. He's like, oh my god, this is horrible, and his like face is all covered in snot and shit. And he's like, all right, now I'm gonna spray my neutralizing spray. And he does it, and it's not working. He's like, this shit's not working. This shit's not working.
He's just rolling around crying. And
the only thing that stops it from working is not getting in the position of being sprayed in the first place. That's There is no other. There's no magic cure. You just need a dark room and a few hours to console your thoughts. That's it. That's all you need. That's all you'll need. But the fact is, what I was going back to is that the police in this country know how to, 9 times out of 10, I would say, and they're not perfect, and the police get a very bad rap in this country as it is, but they're able to talk people out of it. There's a very famous video of a man wielding a machete in city centre London, and he was taken on by 15 officers with shields. No one got hurt, no one got shot. He was basically controlled, put to the floor, and cuffed, and that was it. Now, I'm not saying all police officers in America would do this. I've seen some incredible videos of police officers doing incredible work within their community, and especially places where they have open carry, where people are literally walking around with AR-15s going, look at my dick, look at it, look how big my dick is, I got an AR-15, bitch. And the police officers had to deal with, imagine having to deal with that. You've got someone basically walking down the road, and the stupid question is, they then get to berate the police officer because the police officer goes, why are you carrying that? And the only response I get is, because it's my right.
Yeah.
Because it's my right.
Well, imagine if one of these terrorists had an incident. What are you going to do then? Because you're just going to be a dick with an AR-15 that's going to put the police on edge, and you're probably going to be the guy that gets shot.
Yeah, you're going to be assumed, if you're not in uniform, you're going to be assumed a non-combatant. You're getting it's less like Wolverines in the Red Dawn and more just getting shot, assuming you're the terrorist as well.
What do you guys think about the age-old argument that goes, well, if everyone had a gun, then there wouldn't be any of this?
I think we tried that in the old West.
It's complete and total bullshit.
All murdered the shit out of each other all the time.
Yeah, we were all high-strung. We're like, oh,
yeah, like everyone.
You shoot me, I'm gonna shoot you.
Yeah, like it's suddenly you're like, hey man, that was my seat, and suddenly you guys are aiming guns at each other in a Mexican standoff, and you're like, wait, how did this happen?
That was my Snickers bar.
Yeah.
You don't get the last Snicker bar.
for real, that's what I mean. Like, I don't carry a gun because do you know how many times a day I think, God, I just want to pull out a gun and shoot that guy in the mouth. Like, so I just don't carry a gun because that's why.
Very enlightening.
Yeah, that's I don't carry a gun because I
Yeah.
feel like I would just be like totally like absolutely want to shoot
Yeah.
people in the mouth all the
It
time.
would just be a pissing match, and whose dick
Of
is
course it
bigger every day.
Of course it would. And the problem is, I mean, I never get that because here's the thing: name any mass shooting where having 100 people with a firearm and the police storming the building would have ended in anything other than a bloodbath.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
the thing is, as well, I mean, even okay, let's say that tomorrow the NRA fairy grants its wish and everyone gets a firearm. Okay, so now everyone's got a firearm. Who has the muscle memory? How about fight or flight? What happened? I mean, I've had it where I've had actual physical fights on a moving bus where 100 people that are on that bus have all frozen in fear.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't know how to deal with the situation. They don't know if they need to get involved or not get involved or attack or everything. So most people lock up. So what happens then if you introduce a firearm into that fucking mix?
Oh God.
You then give the gunman who's trained for this an infinite amount of reloads. Look at Fortnite. If Battle Royale's not taught us anything, it's that your shit's gonna get taken when you're dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
It's
you're just
true,
gonna
though.
have this guy go, whoop, I've got another gun and another gun and another gun.
10 minutes later, he's got an arsenal.
Exactly. He's built a porta fort and he's like, he's getting a chicken dinner. It's just fucking. You cannot. And the thing is, I know for a fact that not all Americans believe that. I think actually probably far fewer Americans than anyone can comprehend actually believe that truly.
Right.
Everyone, even gun owners, want reform. They want what they call common sense gun reform. I'm not sure what common sense they're using, but it's good that they want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't, and I totally understand how scary it must be for someone who loves their gun, which essentially is a toy for people that are sane, and a use of death for people that are not sane or wish harm against others. So shouldn't we at least agree that we should make it far harder for someone to get hold of that firearm? Far harder for that person to trick databases because you're not allowed to keep digital copies of fucking gun ownership records. They're all in a filing cabinet at the fucking Federal Bureau. That some dusty old witch has to go and turf out every time they want to do a background check on you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's 2018 for fuck's sake. I can put my entire life on a thumb drive. Why can't you put documents on one?
Yeah.
That is a great segue. So let me ask you guys this: now that we're getting into technology and its place in this, how do you guys feel, or what do you think is how do you feel, and what would you do about the new ghost gun epidemic with 3D printing, where you can make guns and ammo that are completely you can't trace them. They've got no registration. They've got no anything. And any douchebag with a couple $100 can print one off at home and sell it.
I think the media need to clarify the ghost gun, because have you seen a ghost gun? Have you seen it? It's essentially
They look ridiculous.
It looks ridiculous. It has one shot. The firing
shot.
mechanism has a 90-something% chance of breaking.
Yeah,
because
shot.
the one thing that they can't replicate properly in a 3D printer, unless it's a mass production grade 3D printer, which costs tens of thousands of dollars, which I'm sure Tyrone from the Bronx is not going to fucking own, who wants to make his ghost gun factory. It's very difficult to make. There's a lot
Ghost Factory down in the Bronx.
$200
$200
fuck up with his ghost. But essentially, it's like, well, yes, it's terrifying because this is ground zero, and we always know that technology only goes in one direction, and that's upwards. So we are going to get to that point. I mean, you can 3D print a gun, and you can probably 3D print the actual pellets that would go into it, and have it with such a trajectory that, okay, it may not blow a hole in the side of you, but it will probably kill you.
But right now you have to shoot them like you're an old-fashioned pirate. You just like shoot it, drop it, pull out another gun, shoot it, drop them. You're basically just Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm just going to go and reload.
Hopefully that gun's done printing. I'm out of guns.
Yep.
Exactly. Is that your drinking horn? No, I keep my black powder in there. But yeah, it's scary. I mean, you've also got, technology has really failed in when people have tried to say, well, let's make these guns that will only fire to the person that has like the fingerprint or has like a bracelet on that unlocks the gun, which has been proved
Bio.
time and time again can be bypassed with very simple technologies like NFC with phones can bypass it. I mean, I don't want to trust that.
No,
or the fact that we all know that you're going to get that one time. Look at streaming. We've had all our equipment working absolutely seamlessly. The moment we hit the go live button, everything goes, well, fuck you. I'm not working there. Imagine that if that's your gun. And you're like, right, I've trained for this. I've done the hours. And then you go, oh, shit, I need to shoot somebody. And then he goes, no,
then
please reboot.
It's like you're playing with your phone. You're like, hey, this is the same fingerprint I always use, bitch.
It's not pairing with my phone. Where's the app? Why is the app not working?
Oh, no, I got pizza grease all over my thumb. It's not working.
You've connected to this Bluetooth 1,000,000 times.
But I mean, 3D printing will only get better. And it's going to be, I mean, it's the one thing I think will be in every home probably in the next 20 years because its ability to produce parts for like washing machines and just everyday items that you normally would have to throw the thing out and buy a new one. You can then go, well, I'll just find me a schematic and just print me a new Ujimi what's it, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But the fact that it's all open source and the fact that these guys seem to be so happy with the fact that they've put this out there, like they're Mark Zuckerberg fucking finding social media. It's like, well, yeah, you're a prick, but it's the way the internet works. Unfortunately, you can't really be mad. You have to accept all of it or none of it. Unfortunately, so it's. But I can't see every man and his mother going out and going, "What are you doing?" Like Best Buy is going to be inundated. Like, well, we got a 3-month wait on the 3D printers. What do you want it again for? He goes, oh, I want to make a model of like the Enterprise. I'm a Star Trek fan. All in one. You're gonna make like you have all these people with face tattoos going. I'm gonna go meet the Best Buy and give me a 3D printer.
I'm gonna make homemade children's toys.
Yeah, it's a scary world, but it's not.
Long, but it's down the road though. It's certainly not like in the next couple years, but
I mean, the only thing I can think of is somehow putting restrictions on the schematics, like if they're recognized as a part for a gun or a gun.
They actually have, but it's tricky because
it's the firing mechanism is the big point. That's the thing that they've hit.
Beyond that, I mean, we've seen how many times have they tried to shut down things like Pirate Bay. You can't stop the internet. The internet's too big, and there's too many people like us that believe everything should be open source and that people shouldn't be able to get a stranglehold on anything. And there will always be assholes willing to go to jail for a couple of months so that they can keep putting things out because they believe we should all have them.
But that's a worthy argument, though, because it is kind of it's our generation's gun debate because. I adamantly am against any sort of control over the internet space, but you kind of it's very hard to defend it because I remember the Jolly Roger cookbook in the early 90s where it taught you how to make bombs and bleach crystals, fertilizer. You can make your own napalm, and actually, a friend of mine from school blew a 6-foot hole in his back garden because he did such a thing, and bought a bomb casing off the internet and got raided by the military of defense because they were monitoring the. I mean, this kid was like, he hacked our school, and this was like 1994. I mean, this kid like knew his shit. God only knows what he's doing now.
Probably something terrifying.
Terrifying human being. But
never mind. He probably just sells mystery boxes on the dark web. That's probably what he's fucking.
He does. I'm sure he's on some form of the Onion somewhere. But he just it is it's just one of those things that I will defend it. I will defend the fact that it should be open source, but. Almost saying that there should be a line is going against actually everything that I kind of have stood for. I mean, I went through it with Napster and kind of the P2P sharing stuff. Again, I mean, it's why I don't like Metallica. In actual honesty with you, because of what they did in the Napster era when they went around raiding people's homes and taking their computers away. Actually they actually showed up at their fans' houses and took their PCs.
And for a band that was already millionaires, tens of millions, like it's one thing I feel bad for an indie band that's having trouble maybe getting the sales they might because people can go to YouTube and do that, but it's a new world. You can make money. I mean, people getting millions of clicks on streaming can make money that way. Like It's just the whole Lars was just a little bitch about the whole thing, and it was just
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
were
say
already
it was mostly
millionaires. What are
large
you
at the
out?
problem.
It was mostly Lars, but let's not forget also that Metallica refused to have a video on MTV for the first
Yeah.
10 years of their existence because they
Yep.
wanted to say fuck you to the man. Then
Yeah.
they became the man and
Yeah.
turned into the man. So, it's kind of, it went full circle.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like everyone's like, you know what? The rich are corrupt. Then they win the lottery and they're like, haha, suck it, bitches. I'm rich now.
Exactly. You can't have our music for free. What do you mean for free? Fuck you. Pay me my money.
Yeah.
Which is why it's really respectable when you do see bands like Radiohead who put out constantly free content. They were releasing their full tracks for free
Yeah.
online before.
Yeah,
their
well, they were the
record label.
first band that had the pay what you feel,
Yes,
which
yep.
Bandcamp kind of have kind of taken over, and which is
Yes.
why they've kind of semi-saved the kind of indie industry in the case of a lot of alternative music. Because
Yeah.
if it wasn't for places like Bandcamp and even Mixcloud and various other platforms that allow a revenue stream directly to the band where there's no middleman, there's no one going, I'll take that for this and this for that, and it is a great thing. But yeah, it's ironic how many people make it on the backs of saying fuck you, we're going to do it the indie way, and then they make it and then go, well, we've had a change of heart, we're going to charge you for everything now.
If you guys were curious about a little piece of trivia, I've got the world's cringiest album uploaded to Bandcamp.
Really?
Yeah, that's a real thing. I
I
have an
didn't
album.
click on that shit.
I wrote an album a long time ago.
Give
It
us
was
the deets.
absolute. It was so cringy.
Was it a concept album?
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
That'll
it
make
started.
my day if it was a concept album.
How old is this album?
Uh,
Is this early work or is this like?
no, it's early. It
I
was
feel like it
before-
should have a podcast all of its own.
Yeah, that's for a whole nother podcast.
Questionable content, volume 1.
I'll find a link for it, but go on about the gun stuff. Whatever. I'll find the link.
But go on.
It's
go on.
it's cringy though. Like literally, I just want everyone to know that it's cringy.
Throw it up in the chat when you find the link.
I'll find
Do
it.
I take it that you guys are for personal protection in the form of a small form factor firearm, nothing too crazy, no huge magazines, no
Yeah, I mean that's
sporting
what
/ military
I
grade.
was talking about with King Corbin once. I think that personally, if we're going to talk pure home defense, that really the only handgun that anyone should need is an old school style, like a revolver or a wheel gun. I mean, if you
you
can't,
kept saying a
kind of
wheel gun. I was so fucking confused.
Yeah.
I was like, you want? I was thinking like the old ass
no,
like
the wheel gun.
gun like turret on a fucking cart, like you wheel it in and then you fucking
Yeah, the
Oh my
Browning.
God.
yeah. It's like
It's
you
the
should
original Browning gun.
you should have one
Well,
of those. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking
But
about?
that- I shit you not, that was an argument point. If you guys
You
look up
said that. Yeah.
Louder Crowder, he used that as an argument as to why automatic weapons should be part of the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution now, because back then they had automatic weapons. It was
Yeah.
like if you had like an argument over who had the last bit of snuff, and you were like, right, I'll be back in 10 minutes, don't fucking move. And then you hear like a horse and cart draw up and go, right, I'm ready for you now. You see this like hand cranking going, right, you've done it now.
Yeah, come on out.
Like an old style drive by. He's like, bitch.
Oh God.
No, you kept saying wheel, and I was like, wait,
Yeah.
you mean cylinder, like in a revolver, like
yeah,
a 6.7 shot?
But I am only saying that if you can't hit somebody, like if you need a reload, I mean, because it's slow to reload. It's slow to reload. It has small
Mhm.
capacity, and if you can't hit somebody with the first 6 bullets, you probably weren't going to defend your home with the other 15 bullets.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I meant by like with the Glock, like the Glock. Well, the one I had, it was a 9 capacity clip. And
Yes.
even that to me is a little overkill, but I'm willing to go to 9. But
Yeah.
like
And the-
you said, if you can't get it off in the first 3, you're
Yeah.
fucked.
And the revolver
But the
also
Glock
has
is-
the
Glock
advantage
is
of
the
being
porcelain one, though, isn't it?
Say
the
what?
Glock.
The Glock 9. Was it a
It's
9?
very-
Was it
yeah.
or?
The Glock,
It's very plastic.
Glock 19.
Glock is really like plasticky.
Yeah,
isn't
they're
it?
made of porcelain. So in actual
Yeah.
fact, those are essentially they will go for a metal detector with
Yeah.
the firing
Well,
pin removed.
not because
Obviously.
like the barrel and the slide are metal. It's just the
Yeah.
hand grip
Yeah.
plastic.
But
Okay.
yeah, with the revolver, not only do I like them for the low ammo capacity, slower reload, because there's quick reload pouches, but ideally I'd get rid of those too. but it also takes more practice to get good with. You can't just, I mean, anybody can pick up a Glock and just start squeezing off bullets. A
Yeah.
revolver, if you really wanted to go on a massacre with a revolver, learning to reload that shit like you're playing fucking McCree is, it's not exactly like anyone can just go out and do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
Well,
I could
look at
not
that.
go out and shoot it right now.
Look at that crazy bitch that shot up the newspaper. Was
Yeah,
it the, no,
yes,
not,
yeah.
was it the newspaper? That, I mean, she literally did not know what she was doing, and she apparently had been training for a while, so she was just a shitty shot. But
Right.
she unloaded a lot of ammo into there, but she just didn't have the proficiency, and this is my entire point. If you allow anyone, if you allow the NRA or the lobbying group to truly get their wish, you're going to have every muppet on the face of the earth who thinks that has been watching GTA videos or NWA records and are going to start like aiming it like at the side like this.
Yeah,
And just,
yep.
the amount of pricks that you do it now. I mean, you had that. There was a very famous one that always tickles me. The guy that he taught in schools of people how to disarm. He taught actual policemen how to disarm somebody with a gun.
Yes,
And
yeah.
what he'd do is he'd get someone to come up and he'd go, right, hold this gun, and then he'd do his little kung fu move and take the gun away and go, hup, see, that's how it is. Until one day he came across somebody who actually held a gun up to him, and he
Yep.
took the gun off him, but then he gave him the gun back because he'd done it thousands and thousands of times of practice of taking the gun away and then
Yeah.
giving the gun back to them because it was a prop. So then he gave the actual firearm back to
Oh
the
my
rougher
God.
and then got shot.
Oh
And
my
he
god.
survived.
That
Yeah.
is unfortunate. All right, so here's
my God.
for your enjoyment and my suffering.
Oh, you found it.
Here is come at me, bot. Here is a Bandcamp release. It was a concept album. I wrote it while I was super sick, and I had just gotten out of the hospital from when I lost like 80 pounds from a stomach like illness. It was called Heaven Hell Hospital, and it was all about. I mean, it was a loosely
What style of
concept
music
album.
was it, by the way?
What?
What style of music?
It's kind of I do a lot of mixing.
It's
So
like
it's
Electrica.
it's mostly electronica, but it's like electronica mixed with some rap, mixed with it's a little bit of everything, and it is atrocious. Just to be clear,
I'm gonna have
I'm
to
not
make myself a stiff drink and
I'm
sit down with
not
the headphones.
advising either of you ever listen to any track off of the
I'm
album.
listening to all of it.
I got the
only
link copied
saying-
already.
I'm only saying they exist.
With 8 tracks. Oh my god.
Yep. Well,
The
number
Bonus
8
acoustic called
Yeah,
The Mission.
it's not really acoustic. I just called it that. It's not even.
Clickbait.
It was released June 24th, 2013. So 5 years and some ago.
Was that around when we were making music together?
It probably would have been about
Yeah.
that like 5 years
Surprised
ago.
you didn't get like a feature on one of the tracks.
Yep,
I
yep. Oh yeah. Well, actually, I was writing a new album that has some parts done to it that King Cord was working on and featuring with, but I never released it because then I remembered, oh yeah, I'm a terrible artist. So,
Suddenly you had the realization.
yeah,
Suddenly today you
realized.
realized you were a bad artist.
I probably shouldn't have posted this link in this discussion because now I feel like if anything, this will promote people to go buy guns either to end their own life or possibly just in the pure anger of that this exists.
Or it's the proof that you had the capacity to do it at one point, but then you turned your life around. So it's
Yeah.
a positive spin.
Oh no, I still make bad music. I just don't put it on the internet anymore.
I wanted to ask, just going back to the topic really quickly, I wanted to
Yes,
ask you
yeah.
guys something because we hear a lot. We have a problem with knives in this country, have done for a good couple of years, but it's getting worse. There's been a 16% uptick in knife crime in the capital alone, in London alone.
Yeah.
We've had our 122nd death this year, I think it is, from knife crime, which is the highest it's ever been. But we hear a lot about, President Trump has talked about it. There's been various right-wing Republicans that have spoken about the knife crime situation. It just so happens that we have an Islamic mayor. So we have Sadiq Khan, who's the mayor of London. I think if it was like John Smith, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. But hey-ho, that is what it is. Have you got? Is it as prevalent in your news cycle as it is in ours? Because we tend to take a lot of stuff from you anyway,
Right,
basically
right.
because you're you. It's America.
Yeah. We have a lot of nonsensical news.
we
We
do-
produce a lot of.
But we do hear a lot when you guys talk about us, because we kind of go, oh, what they're
Yeah.
talking about us, special relationship. So I don't know if you guys have heard much or anything about the problems that we're having over here.
Well,
No, I-
not as much as we are such a selfish nation.
Yeah.
With all the studies conducted, they once found out that like people like me, half of us we can't even point out most countries on a map because we aren't taught that. We literally
Well, we can't
aren't
even like tell you our own
taught.
states.
Yeah, like there are some people that can't name the 50 states. We're actually taught, we're supposed to learn that in school, like write the states down. But most of people didn't get 100% on that quiz. And I can tell you right now, I don't know that I could sit down on a United States map and write down every state. I'd like to hope I could, but I don't know 100% sure that I could.
Yeah.
We have the same problem here, though. We have the same problem with geography.
Yeah.
Is a thing that a lot of people. I mean, I don't think we, on the whole, we probably as bad, but then we don't have as much to. We usually remember. Well, there's a place called Brown Willie. There's a place called Puentecilia Gogogoch, which is in Wales. And then we go, well, London, Birmingham, Manchester. Fuck the rest of the country. Who cares? So we don't have enough real estate to be embarrassed by not remembering it. You guys have a shit ton of land.
Yeah.
No,
like Texas can fit the entire population of the world in Texas.
Right. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, like we don't know a lot of things. Like you know what one thing, and hopefully this doesn't. I don't want anything to come off as racist at all. But like one time, you know what I saw somebody from Pakistan, and you forget that like we think in America of Pakistani as a Middle Eastern country, and I forgot that people that are Pakistani much more closely relate to like Egyptian or Indian style populations. So like
they show more of a landmass with them than they do the Middle East. Yeah,
that's what the kind of things that Americans don't learn. And I was like, oh my God, we're idiots, including me. Like I now go about trying to learn that sort of things because I don't want to be the racist idiot that thinks Pakistanis look like people from the Middle East specifically. But yeah, it's just we are
Where's
not
our cat's
taught
tail on my
geography.
camera? What's going on?
I know, right?
What's happening?
We
It
are
just
not
jumped
taught
up here.
geography. We are not taught like a
All right,
lot of
buddy.
things. The things that I can name about Britain right now are the knife crime, Brexit,
crumpets.
and probably the wedding, the royal wedding.
Yeah. Usually, if it's anything royal, or if there's like
Yeah, we're
a bomb
obsessed
that
with
goes
royal
off.
stuff.
Yeah,
at a
why do
soccer
you like the
game.
royal family so much? It
I
goes
don't
against
know.
everything you stand for as a nation.
I don't
One
know.
family ruling over everybody.
The
I
royal
think
wedding
somehow
is
accidentally
treated like
ingrained in
how
us.
TLC is like viewed on cable here.
Yeah, right. I feel
Like
like
it's
I feel
like
it's
England
accident-
found love on at like 7 p.m. Central Time. It's like
Oh, for fuck's sake!
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like we literally, I think, accidentally, like it's just ingrained in our DNA. Like we're like we want to be mad about the royal stuff, but then we're just like we kind of like slowly lean over and keep watching it, even though we're.
It's hysterical to us because the royal family over here is pretty much benign. No one gives a shit about them, other than the fact it goes, how much do we have to pay to keep them in that fucking house? What the hell's
Really?
going on here? But then again, it is the thing, the argument, because we have so many, well, mostly Americans in actual fact, that come around every year and stand outside her house and go, oh,
Right.
I thought I saw her through a window. Is she in? Is she there?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just you get it all the time. I mean, but
Oh,
again,
God.
you
And
get
your
people
poor
coming up to me.
Queen's Guard. You get. I bet a billion people annoy the shit out of the Queen's Guard every day.
And the Queen's Guard carry firearms. Let me know. No doubt, they carry SA-80
Yeah.
or fully automatic machine guns.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that piss them off, I could not be a Queen's
Nah.
Guard. I would have like a death count.
I
you could not
wouldn't
believe.
fucking want to be a big douche to the Queen's Guard.
But they're illegal. There was a big controversy because a woman got punched by one of the Queen's Guard.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, you are not allowed to block the Queen's Guard because guess who he's guarding? The
Yeah.
fucking Queen.
Yeah.
So when you walk up to them going, all right, mate, can I have a photo? And you block the person's path, he's going to pull his weapon out. And he also has a bayonet on the end of that thing as well.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
So the fact you got kicked and punched is the least,
Yeah.
probably the best thing other than a hug you could have gotten. Being shish kebabbed by a guy with a bearskin hat on is not
Yeah.
really, especially in 30-degree weather. That's not fun. I
Yeah.
don't
Not
want
the
to
way
stand
I'd
there with a
wanna
big furry
go.
hat on.
Getting bayoneted by a guy in bear skin is pretty much never the way I want to go.
No, I mean that's the last thing. I'd say
I'd
that's a
agree.
humiliation.
Yeah, that's definitely. I want to die surrounded by sandwiches I've eaten while having an orgy.
Sandwiches.
Like I want to eat 50 sandwiches and then have a heart attack in the middle of an intense orgy. That's how I want to die.
God. We can make that happen.
Yeah.
Man, I just want a car crash.
We just need a bakery and some sort of like large area.
I just want to go out. I just want to go out on a bang. You're sitting over here like 50 sandwiches and shit.
I kind of have like a mystical feeling. I just want to know inside. I go, it's time. I'm going to bed now, and then that's it.
That seems peaceful. That's
it.
a British way to die.
I know it's fucking disgusting, isn't it? It's boring.
Like you just want you just want a notification to come on your phone. It's like, oh, it's time. All right, I'm gonna go to bed, guys.
15 minutes. Right, that's me.
You're the
See you next week.
They're calling me. Guy that would figure out his future, find out the day he dies, so we can plan around it successfully, just to make sure it's going smoothly.
I don't want to schedule a conflict. Imagine if you got to do like your taxis or something. Oh, for fuck's sake! I'm gonna be sat in an office for the last minutes of my life.
Oh my god! You guys know just a little bit on the comedy, a little bit on the gun thing. Have you watched all of Key and Peele, Musty?
I've watched most of it. Most of Key and Peele. I absolutely love Key and Peele.
Oh, it's so funny. But there's the one where he goes back in time to shoot the Second Amendment with he goes back in time with these like 2 Uzis to destroy the Second Amendment so that we don't have guns, and he unloads on it, destroys the piece of paper, and then they're like, oh my god, did you see that guy's muskets? And they like get it out, and he has even bigger, scarier guns after that. It is literally one of the best like jokes about Americans and Second Amendment, just humans in general, that we would see something so horrifying and still be like, oh my god, did you see that? We gotta make those.
There's one statistic that basically sums that up. You know, there are more, not to pick on Texas again, but unfortunately they're involved in this.
Yeah.
There are more tigers in Texas than there are living in the rest of the world. Let that sink in. There are more tigers in personal homes, in people's houses in Texas, in private collections, than there are roaming the world.
As people's pets. That's fucking crazy.
Just terrible.
Yeah, and that just sums up so much that is wrong with Western civilization.
Has that been going on forever, or is that actually Scarface's fault?
I just think that it's the Texas way. It's like, well, I'm not going to be out tigered by this motherfucker. I'm going to get 2 tigers.
No,
that is the Texas way.
The first guy that kept a tiger, was it because Tony Montana did it? Tony Montana.
I don't even think it was that. I just think he went, I want that orange stripy cat. Bring him here.
I want that cat. It's bigger my dog. It's big as my horse. I want that cat.
Now I'm scared because are you guys telling me that the tiger that Tony Montana, is it Montana? Is it Tony Montana?
Tony Montana, yeah.
Yeah. Tony Montana is like getting the tiger. Beer. It was actually based on Texas, not the other way around.
Absolutely. You imagine being you reckon you would redefine the term cat burglar. You literally have like a 1 in 20 chance of being mauled to death by a
dude.
I
would not. You don't rob a house in Texas.
You rob a house in Texas, full stop. I mean, did you ever hear about the drawing Muhammad contest they had in Texas? After the not Sandy Hook, the what was the shooting you had?
That's hard to name. There's like
there's like 13 every week.
The one that was actually put down to people that were terrorists. They were actual Islamic terrorists. They worked in I think they shot a load of special needs adults.
Whatever.
Not
the church one, but which one it is.
Yeah. So basically, after that, they decided, and it was not long after the shooting in France as well. After the picture, they printed a picture of Muhammad in their actual editorial. So Texas had a Draw Muhammad contest. A place in Texas had a Draw Muhammad contest, and somebody turned up to shoot up the Draw Muhammad contest and was killed almost immediately. Because every fucker there, and it's the one thing I'm like, shit, their argument holds true.
I know.
It does.
It's like the one time you're like, oh damn it, can we not think about that one when we're talking about this? But he turned up there going, I'm gonna kill everyone, and went, I don't think so, fucker. And that was it. He was over.
I mean, it's
No,
hard.
it
Even
is
It's
though he
hard
was
to
killed by a
ignore
tiger, I'm
that.
not sure.
It,
I mean,
it
there's
was a tiger.
videos. There's
Somebody
videos on
actually-
YouTube all around where like some dude's just about to rob the gas station, but the old fucker behind him has a
Yep.
revolver.
Yeah, old people in that state, you can fuck right off. I'm not, how
Yeah.
do they have any crime? They shouldn't have any crime over there. I'd be terrified.
Yeah, me too, dude. I would not do
Yeah.
anything. Like I just would if I would just walk around Texas with my hands up, just like this all the time, just walking around like
They
I
have
don't
concealed,
have
per-
it.
they
I
have
don't
concealed
have.
carry permits there as well, so you wouldn't even know.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
The
You can
the,
carry
the
what
funny
you
thing was that there's a couple
We actually have
banks in
concealed carry
Texas
here.
that like as soon as you open a checking account, you get like a fucking Remington rifle.
Yeah,
You know?
I've seen that. Yeah, like on certain days
That's
you can get a
hysterical.
bonus rifle as like part of your like sign-on bonus.
Yeah.
What was that, to protect your checkbook? What the fuck's that?
Here's a hunting rifle.
That's actually how Texas works. Like they're like, all right, sir, you're hired on. Welcome to your first day at Jimmy John's. Here's your Glock 19. Here's
Yeah.
your
Here's your nameplate. Here to protect your nameplate is a Glock 9. There you go.
Yeah. And here's your Smith and
handgun,
Wesson 7-inch barrel.
It
the
is
Smith
nuts.
and Wesson's actually to defend your Glock, which is to defend your name.
Yeah.
I've got I've got a gun in my shoe to protect all the other guns, just in case.
Gotta have a gun to protect your gun, and of
A
course,
backup gun.
you have a tiger to protect your gun's
Exactly.
And your
But
tiger
do you know
has
what?
a
It's
gun.
funny. I'm reminded by something that Chris Rock said years and years ago. Part of his stand-up, he goes, I don't think we should ban guns. We should just make ammunition so expensive that when somebody dies, you know they deserved it. If it was like $50,000 a round, you're like, oh, they shot that guy 7 times. He must have fucking done something really wrong.
It's so true though. That's a funny bit, and it's like back to what you were saying though. It is kind of unfortunate the one time that the whole everyone having guns did save a place, because it really undermines. It doesn't fully undermine. I mean, that was an exception, not the actual normality, but yeah, like I get in theory why people have the concept that more guns means less violence, but I just don't I don't know that there's any research ever that will be done to support that.
Well, there's plenty of research that the rest of the world has done
Yeah.
that disproves that theory. I mean, it's like basically the more, and I understand you are literally the paranoid, delusional fuck of the world, because your country was essentially founded on that fact. The fact
Yeah.
is, you had a tyrannical government. I would like to extend my apologies that at least one of my family has at least set foot on your soil and killed somebody. So apologies for that. But we did that many, many years ago, and you don't get over it. You don't forget things like that in a hurry. So I understand, but it's the common sense I don't get. I mean, the Declaration of Independence was written, 1860, 1870 or something like that? I don't remember the exact date.
1876.
Something like that. Oh, yeah, 1876, that was it. But the fact is, imagine if you had, like, I don't know, an instruction manual for a car, and that's the only instruction manual that will ever be allowed, no matter how advanced the car gets.
Right.
No matter how many
Yeah.
bells and whistles you can put on your car, you can only refer to this one document because
Yeah.
it's the only one that means anything. And yet certainly not myself, and I don't think you guys either.
Right.
We have such a problem with the Quran, which in itself says that it's the last document written by God that can ever exist. And we have such a problem with that. But when we have a document that basically gives people the right to shoot people on a whim, we go, well, it said it right there.
Well,
Well, those founding fathers, they were onto something.
Smoked all that weed and wrote it on hemp, and kept
no.
slaves.
Yeah.
And even the one that was deemed the progressive said, well, black people can have half a vote, not a full vote, obviously,
got
but
it.
they can have half a vote. Sorry to
also,
bring that up.
by the way, that's one of my least favorite. That's like one of those arguments that drives me insane too. Like we all know that the Southern Democrats are the ones that upheld slavery, and I hate when people make it sound like that it's us, like the Democrats that were
I know.
pro-slavery. It's
But
one of
also,
my
they always
least
say it was
favorite.
because of land. It wasn't because of slavery. It was because of land taxes. That's why we went to
Right,
war.
right.
Yeah.
Land taxes that helps you keep slaves, dipshit.
Yeah, and it's just like we all get it. The Democratic Party was at the time the conservative party in theory, but good God, man, like they always act like it's still like that we haven't shifted like polarity on parties and stuff. Like
It's
it
just
just
as
goes back
bad.
to what you're saying. Like people are people are so ingrained with whatever like history did that they can't just decide that they want to do their own thing and make it something new and better.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's like your ideal about America, and believe me, you have some fantastic values in America that you should never lose. Your value towards freedom of speech, for one.
Yeah.
I think you should, and I think it's something that the left is getting catastrophically wrong on a daily basis,
Yeah.
because they seem to think that deplatforming and silencing people is the way to go. And
Right.
when has stopping anything in its entirety ever worked? Never.
Yeah.
Never will,
Amen.
never has, and you'll never get there. But the fact you have such free speech, but the problem is you have this complex of, well, we're the greatest country in the world, and in some relations you absolutely are, but you refuse to recognize flaws.
Yeah.
And one of those flaws
yeah.
is actually the fact that you seem to be killing an incredible amount of people with things that you really shouldn't be trusted with. If you
Yeah.
can't have sweets with toys in them because you're frightened that your kids will choke on them, why is it okay for you to own a firearm? I can walk to my local store and buy 100 of those things. In America, you're not allowed. You can't have them because they're frightened that people will choke on them.
It's so savage.
Yep, that's it's so true
That's
though.
the thing. It's
is
the most
true.
ridiculous of ideals. It's like you can't drink a drink until you're 21, but you can drive a car when you're 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
To be honest, the beyond even that, what it really grinds my gears is that they're like, hey, don't drink that beer till you're 21, but when you turn 18, sign up to die in the military. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
what?
Exactly.
When you turn
How the
18,
fuck
buy a
how
pack
the
of
fuck are
cigarettes and then
you
go
gonna-
find your local military.
Yeah, like
branch.
you're gonna let
and
people die
often-
in war for 3 years before they can have a drink.
Can't have sex with anybody. You can't have consensual sex with anybody. But we're going to give you this M16. We're going to point you in the direction of Afghanistan.
Oh,
Now go protect that oil, little boy. Go protect. And yet we vilify when there's pictures in the Congo of 13, 14-year-olds holding AK-47s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet 2 years down the line, we've got them in full military regalia, paying them a wage. So
Yeah.
I find that highly ironic. I mean, I was a sea cadet myself, so I was in the I don't know what the equivalent of what you call them over. Well, you probably call them cadets, the same as we do.
Yeah.
But I fired weaponry. I was taught how to
Is that like the Coast
polish
Guard?
it.
Were you in the Coast Guard?
No, it was
Is that-
essentially it was like the Royal Navy cadets.
Okay.
So we had we shared it with a Royal Marine Commando unit. So we had
Yeah.
proper big boys with big weapons.
Yeah.
We would
Okay.
go on operations using flashbangs, and
that's
I got
cool.
to fire a 303 rifle. I got to fire an SA-80 rifle. I got to fire an M16 rifle.
That's pretty sweet.
I got shot at in Portsmouth.
Oh,
I was at a band competition. I used to play bugle in a band
Yeah.
for the Sea Cadets, and we had a national band competition. We, in our infinite wisdom, we decided to go out and look at Portsmouth, not realizing that we were on a military base. We're on a Royal Naval base in Portsmouth, where they actually make a lot of the munitions for the ships out there, because it's a naval port. So we dress up all in black because we're clever like that, and we leave in the middle of the night and we run across this green field, and we hear this Royal Marine say, "Stop, or I'll shoot." And we all go, "Well, we're gonna run."
Well,
So
yeah.
then you just hear bang bang, and then we all simultaneously pissed ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And yeah,
You're
it was.
positive you just got shot. You're
I mean, I
absolutely
was-
positive you didn't miss.
I was 14 at that time, so I shit my pants quite literally. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would have straight the next. If we'd have kept running, the next bullet would have been for us. The whole lot
Yeah,
of us.
that's what I mean. I doubt he would have
yeah.
missed, like unless he was.
Yeah, thank
warning
God he
shot.
thought, well, I'll give you a warning shot first. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, because a group of dressed in black people running across a field isn't a warning sign enough.
Yep.
I'll
Thank
just
God
get
it
the
wasn't an American that would have
Could
got
you imagine
50
that?
shots in the
Yeah.
back.
They've got like the battleship to turn their 50 mil cannon on
Yeah.
or something. blown a hole in the side of the boat.
Oh God, it's so.
But that
true.
actually leads to a bit of a thing as well, because do you believe do you believe it when people actually say the reason why they own firearms is to protect themselves against a tyrannical government?
No, I believe it's because we all just love shooting the fucking guns off, and it's so
Thank
fucking
you.
fun.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
think
fun,
that
isn't it? It is
great
fun actually
experience.
firing. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It is. It's an
It is.
enjoyable experience. Although I don't even like hunting. I don't like killing things. I like things. I don't like the feeling
I've
of
never
killing
even-
like things.
I've never even gone hunting. I've only just shot at the shooting range.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
have
I've
nothing
shot
to hunt.
targets.
We have
Yeah, I've
nothing to
shot
hunt that requires anything other than like a 303 rifle, and those are only in royal parks. So we have royal parks where you can go and they cull deer every year, but we
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have anything with natural predators. So we have shit tons of that.
Also, one thing to
Yeah.
point out is that all the people that want to protect hunting, like it's like they forget that there's like a billion types of bows and crossbows that are really intricate and hard to use and can be really challenging to hunt with. If I was
Yeah, I mean-
going to hunt, I would use a crossbow. I think that seems way more interesting.
I'd make it even more interesting. I'd take like those old like catapults or like
You're
Oh,
just,
fuck
you're
the
just
cat-
rolling a catapult
Just
behind
fucking,
you.
just take it down with your bare hands. Jesus.
yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah,
give me a
fly in-
pencil. I'll
Yeah,
fucking
you
stab
lie
that thing in the head.
bush. Yeah, you just lie in the bush till a deer walks by. You just pounce out and you start jabbing it with a pencil. Obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You hop
well,
on
I
that
think,
fucker, and then you're just like, da, 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 da.
Yep,
exactly.
just
I
like
mean,
you're wrestling an alligator.
I mean, I totally. I mean, I've got no problem with hunting whatsoever. I've got no. I mean, it's the reason why we're sat here now is quite
Yeah.
literally because of meat. The consumption of meat
Yeah.
is essentially why we stopped hunter gathering and went, I can
Yep.
think about things now.
Yeah,
Let's
it's true.
invent something. So any vegan that wants to argue with you, you wouldn't be there arguing about veganism if it wasn't for the fact that we could kill things with faces and eat them. So
It's a good
Yeah.
point.
throw a
That's
set.
a good point.
And that's speaking from someone that went vegan for quite some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole argument of tyrannical governments. I would ask anyone that actually believes in that right now. Go to Google, type in the goalkeeper system that protects any ship in not only in the UK. It's a Swedish company made by a Swedish company who apparently make the best weapons in the world. Apparently, ironic, seeing as they're one of the most placid
Yeah, the
countries that ever
most,
walked
like,
the face
yeah.
of the fucking earth.
To the point of being a joke. They're literally a joke about how neutral they are.
They make a thing called the goalkeeper system, which is basically a minigun attached to a computer that can identify and prioritize 300 separate individual targets at any given moment and process them within a millisecond. And
Yeah.
you and your AR-15 are going to do what now?
Yep, they have that. Not to mention the U.S. has unveiled we literally have active on our Navy actual legitimate laser guns that blow up drones, like lasers that they shoot and blow up drones with. Motherfucker, I ain't trying to fight no Navy ship with an M16 knockoff AR while they're aiming lasers at me.
I would love to see. Well, no, I wouldn't love to see. I would love to. I would love to be able to project. If we could project an alternative reality and we could show a tyrannical American government, and then we round up all the gun advocates to form an actual militia and go on then, off you go. See you later.
That would have been great if they could, if Deadliest Warrior. Have you ever seen Deadliest Warrior?
Yeah.
That would have been if they had done that scenario. That'd be so interesting because it would have been
Frontiersman.
brutal.
This is
Yeah.
Jeff from Idaho.
Yeah, how would you even they wouldn't even know where to start classifying that, like trained commandos, and usually it's like trained U.S. Marine versus brutal Spetsnaz, like, and this would just be like Joe from Nebraska battling the trained Marine.
He was the second Grand High Wizard in the fucking Alabama
KKK?
chapter of the militia. But that's the thing.
Oh,
Most
God.
militias are actually fronts for far right racism. Unfortunately, let's not get it twisted.
Well, those are the only two. You get two choices pretty much, and it's either far right nonsensical racism or even further than that, legitimate crazy survivalists
Doomsday
like Jim
preppers.
Jonesy. Yeah, like
There was that dude that they found 1 billion rounds of ammunition in his fucking on his property because he was like had like
Really?
millions and millions of dollars, and he just kept them all, and he just kept buying like bullets in case he was scared that they were going to run out of metal or something. It's
Yeah,
like,
like,
But a billion? Really? Like a billion?
what
a
do you-
billion
at
rounds.
What point are you doing that with? You're
Yeah.
not gonna fire that. You're never gonna.
You're
in
just-
the wor- you
but
could
it's his
just be
right as an American. It's his right.
You could be in the perfect fortress with a billion things in front of you, and you would never shoot those off before you died from something.
Yeah, but you know what would happen? He'd have the one rifle where the ammunition for that rifle's like halfway in the back. And he'd be
Yes.
like, oh, shit.
Right. He's trying to like go through it like it's a fucking library with call
Is it a
numbers. trying to find
.22?
his
Is it
ammo.
0.56? Is it 0.72? I'm not sure. What is it? 50 cal? What am I talking about? 9mm? And then by the time that it's all over.
This guy's acting like
It's
it's the
always
end of the world. And he's gonna be like, 1 second, crazy roaming bandits. I need to find my ammo in the back.
It's always crazy to think, to me, like those people, those preppers, like say like that guy who's got like a billion pieces of ammo. What if like the world did it, but like nothing ever happened? Like he never had a reason to fire the ammo off. You know, like it was just pointless to just collect all that ammo.
To be honest,
I'd love to see it like in like 10,000 years time where like you have like some like archaeological dig happens and they go, we've come across this guy's ranch, and then we look and we go, bullets?
Yep.
There's nothing but bullets. There's absolutely
What the fuck was this guy doing?
Like, he was too busy collecting bullets. He forgot to collect food and
Yeah, exactly.
bandages.
Plus,
He
it
probably
really
died
shows...
of like lead poisoning because he got like a dodgy batch of 9mm ammunition from Poland.
Oh god!
You see like a
And it
skeleton
really...
in the middle of the floor, and then a giant pile of ammo in the corner.
He knocked over a crate and crushed him.
Yeah,
It really shows how little they know about America too. Because, bro, you're a millionaire. You're not dying in the apocalypse. All the poor people are. You're gonna be
Exactly.
fine. You're on the first ship to the moon.
You should be buying yourself a billion gallons of water and some flour, you fucking moron.
yeah. You start.
Help yourself survive. What's a gun gonna do? You can't eat a gun. I suppose you
guys-
could,
have
but
you
you
guys
know, you
read
wouldn't go very
Marvel?
well.
Or he'll just go crazy, and he only uses one bullet on himself.
Exactly, he blows his own brains out with one bullet. So he has 999,999,999.
Which will be great in that archaeological dig
That
when they
will.
find the one guy with one bullet in
They're
his
like,
skull.
guys, look at all this brass
Trevor?
and lead.
We've spoken about it. We've decided you're gonna count the bullets.
Did
1, 2.
you guys ever watch World Wars, or have you ever read World War Z? Not watched the movie particularly.
I've watched the movie. Unfortunately, I've done both. So yeah, I read the book and then
what I
watched
mean,
the
like,
movie.
That's the way
Sent
to
a death
go.
threat to Brad Pitt.
The
and
guy,
then-
one of the worst characters in the book is the guy that invents the fake drug to cure it. You know, phalanx or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he moves to Antarctica and lives in a mansion, and he's like just living a happy, rich life while everyone else is murdered and massacred trying to retake the world. That's like what America's based on, is being the guy in Antarctica. We're terrible.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's worse than that though, because it's based on it's like you only consume information that you want to consume. You only put out information that you want people to understand.
Yep.
And you're basically you're built up and backed up by foreign interest. You're the most foreign backed isolationist country the world has ever seen.
Yep. And then we
There's some sort of-
use our foreign backing to like launch coups in other nations to get more foreign backing.
Well, I mean, it is like we were talking about it the other day. Most of your debt, for some reason, is owned by China,
Yeah.
Brazil, Ireland.
I don't know how Brazil got so much of it, but
Ireland. Like, what
Yeah,
the fuck
how the-
happened? Well, I
Yeah.
suppose that Ireland was is a tax haven, technically. So that's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
the reason
yeah.
why.
We probably
Yeah,
just
and
traded
then-
it for a bunch of whiskey.
what?
And
yeah, but
not even-
what's the Brazilian one?
We're not even talking about the amount of Saudi money that's involved in
God.
the
Yeah.
US, the
I wouldn't
amount of
even know
Russia
what
money,
Is-
ding ding ding, that's
Yeah.
involved
Yeah,
in,
there's a lot
in
of
the
Russian.
American economy. There's a lot of Russian money in
There
the
is.
US. So it's kind of like what part do you own again? It's like
God.
I don't think
If
we
you
own any of it
defaulted-
anymore.
well, that's the thing. There was a report I read years ago that really stuck with me, that if Saudi Arabia pulled all their money out of America, you would become a
Yep.
third world country the next morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that dire. It's
We-
like you know that film The Big Short, where they talk about the house collapse bubble that burst that led to the
Right.
2012.
Yeah.
That is essentially what your country's built on. It's like smoke and
Right.
mirrors.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
we have all this money, but we haven't really got anything.
I was actually just saying, we're at, again, another topic for a different day, but I was just telling Cal that we're coming up on another housing bubble burst because we've
Oh
got
yeah.
all the baby boomers are about to
Yep.
die and none of
Yep.
us can afford
Yeah.
their houses.
Nope.
So none
Yeah.
of us
We have a
can
huge
buy.
issue over here. We have.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the best job I ever had was as a tube driver. So I pulled in about 52,000 a year, which
Yeah.
is the equivalent of what 75, 80 grand
Yeah.
in America. So it was a really really good job. And I couldn't afford to buy a house. And over
Right.
here they usually lend you roughly 7 times your wage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I couldn't afford a house in London. I mean, the house that I lived in
Yeah.
before,
Can
which
you-
I paid what £2,000 a month rent on,
Mm-hmm.
was worth 700, 800,000 pound,
Exactly.
and it was not, and it wasn't like anything special. It's not anything special. It's just that London has become
Yeah.
such a ridiculous place to live in, and we have council houses. So for people that are actually truly in need of housing,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
will give people houses, have them for decades. Problem is, in the 80s, we introduced something called right to buy. So if you lived in your council house for more than 5 years, you could buy it at a 60% discount. So
Oh,
all
that's
these people started
interesting.
buying them, which is a good idea on
Yeah.
paper.
In theory,
But,
yeah. In theory,
but then
it's a
when
good
you
idea.
don't buy it, when you don't build any more houses to put more people in, you
Right.
fuck yourself over. So we now have a housing crisis where people are literally leaving the capital because they can't afford to live here, and that's contributing to this. I mean, you're seeing it over there. We're seeing it here as well. It's
Yeah.
going to be a big recession, the next one that
Mhm.
hits.
Yeah.
And tax
But on the
breaks
bright
and
side,
stupid things don't
we
help.
might actually get to buy some houses when they crash this brutally.
This is true. Well, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
there's places in Liverpool, which is where the Beatles are from. That's
Yeah.
that's the only way I can really equate
Yeah.
it to most Americans. Like
Yeah.
Liverpool is
No,
a
I
city
know
where
Liverpool's from.
where the Beatles are from. So it was the European city of culture. It's a beautiful city.
Mhm.
You could buy a terraced house, so that's basically a two up, two down. So you have a living room, a kitchen upstairs, you have a bathroom and a bedroom.
Yeah.
You can buy it for around about 14 grand. So that's about 16,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because the house prices went up and up and up and up and up, and then the vacuum happened and the whole lot went, and now people can't even afford to buy them at that price. So people from outside of Liverpool or outside of the UK, in fact, because we have a lot of Chinese and Russian money, they
Right.
buy the building, don't do anything to it, wait for the price to go up on the land, and then they sell it
Yeah.
on. So it's a nice little tidy investment, and that's what happens in America
Liverpool
all the
close
time.
to London? Is it
No,
nearby?
it's in the grand scheme of things, in American terms,
Oh,
yes, it's
right.
down the road. You
Well,
can
yeah,
drive.
like how far is it in a
You can
drive?
it's about 5 hour drive roughly.
Oh,
Roughly
yeah,
about
okay.
5 hour drive.
Closer
If
than
you
driving over to Denver here. Okay.
if you
Yeah.
flew, it would take you about 45
Yeah.
minutes, half an hour. It's I mean you can drive
City
from
to-
John O'Groats
Right.
to Land's End, which is one tip of England, or sorry, one tip of Britain to the other tip of Britain in about
Yeah.
9 hours.
Right.
So you
Me
can
and-
drive the
me and-
entirety of the country.
We drive.
Wow.
We have a Worlds of Fun, which is a theme park, like in 3 hours away, and we drive that all the time. We drive 3 hours there, 3 hours back, like
Yep.
all the time. Americans love driving ridiculous long distances.
Oh, we hate it. It's the thing. I mean, London's lucky because we have a transport system that, unlike
Yeah.
most other places, because we have an underground that works. We have the oldest underground railway in the world, the original one. We have buses run 24 hours a day here.
That's nice.
Tubes run 24 hours a day on the weekends. We have trains. We have 4 international airports within like an hour of
That is
central
nice.
London. So we're spoiled, and we still moan. The argument because I'm from Birmingham originally, so home of like Metal, Black Sabbath,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So where I'm from, and Birmingham's the second biggest city in Britain.
Okay.
So I went from Birmingham to London, and you could not imagine, because in Birmingham you'd wait like half an hour, 45 minutes for a bus. I'd
Yeah.
get to London, someone would be running like their life depended on it, miss a train, you'd look up at the board and it'd say 2 minutes for the next one.
God, yeah.
They run like
Really?
literally every like 90 seconds to 2-3 minutes.
Not
and
here.
people
Yeah.
run for it like you would not believe. But yeah.
Where
It's a
me and King Court are from, there's like one bus that goes through a place every like hour and a half. Like
Yeah.
people have to show up to school or work, or there's like anywhere they go like an hour early all the time and just sit there because
Mhm.
and they only run for like 7 or 8 hours a day. They're atrocious. We
Yeah,
have
they're,
the
they're done
world-
at like 6 or 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. A lot of that's the thing. A lot of other places in the UK have that. So when we have a very cheap transport system, so because it's subsidised pretty heavily because of how many people actually live in London and how many people use.
Right.
Because on the whole, it's about 300 to 400,000 people use the tube every single day. So the tube network. And the tube network runs because London is the 18th biggest city in the world. It's the biggest developed city in the world, like westernized city in the world, with the most visited place on earth. No one else has as many tourists as London does.
Right.
So we kind of have to have the capacity. We have like 4 million people visit our city every year. Of a country of a city that has 8.5 million people living in it anyway.
Right.
So it's pretty vast. We get compared to New York a lot, but New York has slightly more people living there, but it's over half the size of landmass than London is. London's humongous compared to everywhere else. But yeah, no, transport wise,
New York
it's
was
crazy.
a shithole too. I've been to New York. London looks at least beautiful. New York's a shithole.
I
London
love
has
New
its shitholes as well. London, it really does have its shitholes. Believe you me.
I'd love to come to London. I've been to New York. I love New York.
I was fine with New York, but well, first of all, I'm from the Midwest, so it's a little unsettling just to be around like it's just like nighttime there 24/7 because there's the buildings are so tall you don't see the sun. And
I love that. I love it.
I'm from the Midwest. Like you can't.
What are you,
like,
Superman? You need the fucking sun all the goddamn time.
Dude, do you see the?
I'm a King Cord. I'm a
of
city
my
boy born
skid?
and bred, so I need it. I need to have buildings covering me.
Normally, I would say I'm a city boy. I'm a city boy for where we live, like for where we're from.
Yeah.
I'm considered a city boy, but our tallest building just looks like a semi-erect penis, and it's like only like.
Well, London's a weird one because we got bombed to fuck in the war, so we literally we got pummeled into the dirt in the Second World War. So London's really weird. Americans are specifically people for because you guys are very regimental. Like you have like First Street, Second Street, Third Street. It's all like in a line. There is none of that here. It's like you want to go to Regent Street. So how do you get to Regent Street? Well, what you got to do, mate? You got to go take a left and a right, go left again. Then you got to go down there, go right at the end. Then it's pedestrianised. You got to wait a minute. Then you got to go left. Nothing is in order. There is zero in order. So if you can find your way around, most people use the tube. And what people don't realise is they get on the tube and they'll go from one place to another and they have to get off and change tube lines. So they'll go on the Central line and the Victoria line to get to their place. And then they get out and they walk it and they realise it would have taken them 6 minutes walk from one place to the other, but it took them 25 minutes on the tube because they have no idea where things are.
Here's a
but
picture
I'm a city boy.
This is that picture I just posted. That's our ultra phallic Capitol building where me and King Cord live.
Yeah.
And beyond just being ultra phallic, like the most phallic building you could imagine.
Oh no, I can be that. Look up the gherkin. Look up the gherkin in London.
A pickle?
It could be construed as a pickle, but it could also be construed as a giant penis on the horizon. So London gherkin. Look it up.
Oh shit! Okay, that's pretty penis looking.
Yeah.
Put in the chat. Put in the chat. So
that's got a real somebody photoshopped an actual gherkin pickle into it. That's great.
Our skyline's really bizarre. It's like because we have like a giant Ferris wheel. We have the London Eye that's on the Thames.
Right. Like look at the difference at ours. Like when you look at that, you have all these tall buildings behind it. Like on ours, it's just emptiness as far as you can see, and we are the second biggest city in our entire state.
Yeah, but you've got to also think that London is the home of money for the world. There is the London Stock Exchange is the reason why people make money in the first. I mean, you have the NASDAQ and stuff like that. You have the American Stock Exchange, but the London thing is a different beast altogether. It really is. And it's ironic because if you go to South Bank, where all the money district is, where Citibank is, where Lloyd's, where all the major stock exchanges and trading companies are, it also houses one of the biggest Bangladeshi minority and dirt poor communities you can imagine, and they live in these blocks of flats that they cannot tear down because they're council property, therefore they're protected, and the people that have the money fucking hate them. And we had a thing called we had a fire in a block of flats in Grenfell, which killed like 70 odd people just over a year ago. It was basically they put cladding up to protect the to make the building look, quote unquote, nicer to tourists and nicer to people that had fucking money.
Right.
But the thing was,
Those ones
they
are cool.
spent $5,000 on the cladding, and the cladding was actually flammable. So when the building set on fire, it was literally like a Roman candle, and no one survived. Almost nobody survived in the building fire.
Oof.
And it was down to basically rich people going, well, we don't really want to look at all these Bangladeshi people and black people, so we'll put a nice bit of cladding out. It's like putting a vinyl wrap on a fucking shithouse car and making it look like a Porsche. But then the shithouse vinyl catches fire and cooks the people that live within the car. So it's fucked up. So yeah, we're based on death and destruction. The entire city is, but it's still a city I love. I do love London a lot.
Well,
And also love not to live here because
I think me and Cal are gonna move to Liverpool. It sounds like where we can buy a home for $16,000.
Oh yeah, I mean you gotta be dodging knives a lot, but it's cool.
What
Nice.
about Bristol? Is Bristol all right?
Bristol's nice,
you
actually.
Can teach me the moves, right? Just teach me
Bristol,
some of these.
Bristol's. I can definitely teach you something, but Bristol is a sea mariners town, so it's very rough. It's like it's about as white trash as we could get as a country. It's full of people that talk a bit like this. Goes, you want to take me Roman? I'll punch you in the fucking face. Bristol's it's a weird one. The south coast in general is a very rough part of Britain. Very racist.
I feel like
they love their white people.
The first time I ever come to the UK, I'm 100% certain I'm gonna accidentally buy drugs when somebody's like, "You want some food, mate?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love some food, man. Hook me up."
Just go to Camden. Just go to Camden. That's all you need to do. You walk out the tube of Camden, someone will go, "Psst, want something?" It's not even food. Just like, want something? Come with me. And you just go, "Oh, okay."
I do want something. Everybody wants something, man.
Just right. If you are going to come to London, there's two things you have to pronounce correctly. One is Leicester, not Leicester, not Leicestershire. It's Leicester.
Leicester.
And the other one is Gloucester, not Gloucester. For whatever reason, the amount of tourists go, "Excuse me, where's Gloucestershire Square?" And he's like, "That doesn't exist, madam. Sorry, we have Gloucester Square."
Maybe I just won't Maybe I'll just pretend to be Irish. I've got the hat and the beard. Do you think I just fake an Irish accent and then nobody will beat me up? Or do you guys hate the Irish more than the Americans?
It depends on who you speak to, because the older generation, we did have the IRA bombings that went on for quite some time. So
that's a good point.
You got to be a bit careful. And plus, you've got a lot of Irish people here as well, and they can sniff out a fucking a no market.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to be real careful.
I'm a fake.
Dirty
get me right away.
breed American Irish. They'll sniff you
funny.
out.
London is the true essence of a melting pot. We have literally every type of person that lives under one roof, and we get on pretty harmoniously. People talk about the knife crime and everything else, but we're a city of 8 million people, and we had 200 people died from stabbing. So that's per capita. That's pretty decent. That's not the most terrible thing in the world.
Fine rate to me.
Medieval England, I'm sure a lot more than 226 people were killed by blade. But anyway, the worrying thing is the further away you go from the cities, the more racist they become.
Yeah, well, that's true here too.
But they have the least amount of minorities that live there. No one in their right mind. The only Chinese people that live in Bristol, for want of a better description, are the people that own the Chinese takeaway. Because no one else.
That's kind of the joke, right? I mean, they're racist because they don't spend enough time with people to be like, "Oh, these people are the exact same as you and me." Like,
it's the same tropes you have here peddled. We have a thing called Notting Hill Carnival, and it's to celebrate Afro-Caribbean culture within the UK. Yeah. It's made millions for the suburb of Notting Hill, which in itself is one of the richest boroughs in the entirety of the country because of the carnival. 2 million people visit this one road in Notting Hill over 2 days. Yeah, but they all moan about it because they're black people. And
I saw an article about people. I actually know what you're talking about because I read an article that said, and I quote, "Fearful residents build barricades around homes before the carnival starts."
They actually do. But do you know why? Because 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they gentrified Notting Hill, which used to be an immigrant peasant neighborhood. And all these rich people bought the houses for dirt cheap and then maintained them themselves. And now the houses are worth literally millions and millions of pounds. Yeah. And they don't like it because one weekend out of the year, A lot of people come together to spread love, peace, and harmony, and some people do come there for arguments and fights and everything else that I'm not defending. There are some utter fucking morons that go to that place, and they go specifically for fighting. They don't go for any other reason.
Yeah,
but these people barricade their houses. They go away to Saint Tropez or Bolivia or wherever. They come back and they grumble, but yet they pay lower taxes than everywhere else because the amount of money that brings in over one weekend. It pays over half of their entire budget in 2 days because of the amount of people that come there. And yet they moan every year. They moan about it and they board up their houses and they piss off. And every one of them are multi-millionaires. And they come back and go, oh, Lord, they've pissed up my wall.
God.
That
just sounds so annoying. Classism is the worst. Like rich people being like upset or disgusted by poor people just makes me roll my eyes so hard.
But the terms have been changed though because they don't classify people as poor anymore because that's lost its kind of polish because a lot more people have a lot more information and are poor at the same time. Now it's become the race. The race element has reared its ugly head again because we have a talk radio station called LBC, which on the whole is actually very balanced. You have some very right wing people like Nigel Farage, who you may know because Trump loves him. And then you have some very left wing like James O'Brien, who's incredible, and they have very open speech on there. And LBC, this one guy came on today, goes, "Oh, the reason why all these what London's in the state it's in because all the old East End families, you know, the ones that used to stab people and rape and pillage, well, they've all moved out. So all these immigrants have moved in, and now London's a shithole." And this and the other goes, "Well, where do you live?" "I live in Epsom, which is where millionaires go to live, essentially." It's just shut.
Should have just lied.
At the end of the day, we brought over people from India, people from Jamaica, and people from Africa to rebuild our country after the war because we own them. So we allowed people that had British passports, but we still didn't consider as British to come and rebuild our city and our country. They decided, oh, well, it's quite nice here. We might live here. And then we went, oh, no, you can't live here. Get out.
We're pretty guilty for that as well.
You've done your job now. Piss off.
We've been, like, they talk about illegal immigration here, but we've been letting people in legally for ever, and then suddenly they want to act like we didn't mean to let everyone in. Like,
the first person to set foot on the land was an illegal immigrant.
That's what I mean. That's we built our. It's so funny about America. It's what I was joking about on stream. Like, Americans hate immigrants, even though we were an immigrant nation. The South. The South being so pro-American when the South actually revolted against America.
They're the only confirmed enemies of the state that has ever been.
Exactly.
The Confederacy was the only group of people that openly said, we're not American anymore. We're not living by your values. We're not living by your documentation. We are going to attack you. And yet people see that as Southern pride.
Yeah, they see it as pride, and they think they're more American because of it. You're like, no, that is not how that works.
Does no one see the irony when people talk about Southern hospitality?
Oh, God.
It's like, slaves and turning against your own government. It does not say, like, howdy, stranger.
Like, at least
hey,
Germany
they'll still give you a glass
of
lemonade on their front porch, though.
That's true. At least places like Germany had the decency to be ashamed of the things that they've done and to trying to correct that in their culture.
Well, killing 6 million Jews will do that to a country.
Well, that's what I mean, but apparently not to places like America where we turn on each other, murder each other, and we have our bloodiest war of all time, and we're just like, yeah, that's American. That's our heritage.
No. The problem with, Germany literally had to pipe down. They've become uber liberal, which is they've gone like literally screaming in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
which is why they're now the right wing punching bag that they are because they accepted 1 million migrants from Syria and Iraq, Iran, and all the countries that we took their natural resources, removed their democratically elected politicians, and placed our own idiotic members who then became terror cell leaders and blew up 2 towers that killed biggest mass extinction of life, since the dinosaurs. So it's slightly ironic, but then we look at Germany and say, well, you took in 1 million and now you've got all these problems. Yes, they have got problems. There is a problem with what's going on, but do you know what? Look at Turkey. Turkey took
Yeah.
in 3.5 million migrants. No one talks about that because they themselves are
Mhm.
brown and or don't follow the Western Christian
Right.
ideologies. Look at Syria themselves that housed 4 million people from Libya. Look at
Yeah.
what's happening in Libya. Look what's happening in what Saudi's doing to them. Look at what's happening with Judaism, which is the ironic thing because people talk about anti-Semitism all the time, but it's only anti-Semitic when you're criticizing a political structure is not anti-Semitic. It's
Right.
called
Right.
critical thought. It's not you're not being criticized because of your ideological beliefs. It's because of your political structure and what you
Yeah.
think is okay to do to other human beings who
Yeah.
look identical to you and share the same landmass. And just because they were born on one sliver of land to the left and not the sliver of land to the right means that
Yep.
they're worthy of killing. And yet, if you say anything bad, then no, you can't do that. You are,
Right.
and that's
And
what's happening to Jeremy Corbyn, which is the leader of the Labour Party at the moment. He's
Yeah.
because they can't get him for any other reason. They're now throwing the anti-Semitic card at him, and Jewish people are ringing up all sorts and saying, "Oh, we're going to leave we're going to go back to Israel
Yeah.
because we don't feel safe in the UK." And the rest of us are looking around going, "What? What?
Yeah.
We don't care." It's like, do what you
Yeah.
like.
We're
Stay-
we're
stay
really
and go.
screwing the pooch on everything in that area too. Because I mean, we're now like sponsoring like Turkey's biggest like enemy on accident, and Turkey's
Mhm.
salty as shit about it, as
Well,
they
wouldn't
should
you?
be.
Look at,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look at Erdogan. Look at what's happening in Syria. I mean, it's
Oh,
like
yeah,
they are
fuck.
legitimately fighting ISIS. They are. I
Yeah.
mean, they are fighting ISIS. There's no two ways about it.
Right.
And yet, we America, France, and the rest of NATO are all fighting against Erdogan
Yeah.
because of Russia. It's not
Yeah,
because of
yeah,
who they're fighting.
exactly.
It's because who they've sided up against. Same in Afghanistan. Afghanistan had a civil war with Russia for 100 years.
Yeah.
We moved in and went, well, we could help you out with that. And we got this guy, he's called Bin Laden.
Oh,
You heard of him?
God,
Saudi
yeah.
prince. You know, he could help you out. And then Bin Laden goes rogue, and then we go, well, we'll kill him. And then he hides in a cave and then flies 2 planes into the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And then we go,
it's-
oops, it's
yeah.
Iraq's fault. Kill Iraq.
Whoopsie-daisy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Iraq.
It's Iraq's fault.
That was a really fucking bizarre thing, and that, to be honest, with everything, even though it was horrific and just disgusting, you gotta really respect the play because it was so impressive with the guile that it took to get hit by one terrorist hiding in Afghanistan and somehow start that new war with Iraq. I mean, it
But
really.
not only that, but we had 9 out of the 11 terrorists confirmed Saudi
Yeah.
occupants.
Yeah,
And
it
yet
was-
we looked in our book and went, hang on, Saudi. Oh, they buy weapons. Oh shit, hang on. Oh, that guy's from Iraq. Fuck Iraq. And it literally was as bad as that. And then you go invade a country that I mean, don't get me wrong, Iraq. Saddam Hussein was not exactly a fucking. He wasn't a member of the Tabernacle Choir. Let's get it straight.
Yeah.
But terrorists were terrified of that man because he was a tyrant, and he wouldn't just kill you; he'd kill anyone that shared your last name. So he did atrocities. Yes, he was terrible, but him and his group single-handedly stopped the opium trade, the same as Afghanistan. Afghanistan and Al Qaeda, as terrible as they were, stopped the
Yeah.
opium trade because they were like, well, why are you benefiting from all this when we can do it? And then lo and behold, when we roll in with tanks and missiles and freedom, democracy, apparently, we then go, well, opium. Well, that's worth a bit, isn't it? Oil, that's worth even more, isn't it?
Oh,
Shit.
jeez.
Let's start the rivers flowing again. Let's get it going, boys. And then all of a
Sometimes,
sudden, opium goes through the roof.
sometimes I can't even talk about this for too long, or it just makes me lose too much hope in humanity. Like I gotta go watch a puppy video or something.
Well, I think it's important because it actually shows that as much as we're divided, and you certainly, your country is about as divided as I've ever known it in my short but illustrious 38 years on this planet. And our country with Brexit is just as divided.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much we still share as a belief structure. Even people
Right.
that are Democrat, Republican, liberal, fucking Trekkies,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. we still think that basic human rights do count for something in this world.
Yeah.
And we do all think that waging war on a lie is completely wrong.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
and that's the irony, because you have been caught out twice. You got
Yep.
Gulf of Tonkin with the Vietnam War, and then you had the weapons of mass destruction Iraqi Republican Guard that turned out to be a football team from Qatar that fucking couldn't shoot for shit. And we basically rolled in there with fucking Apache helicopters and liberation tanks, and then went, okay, where are these guys again? I can't find anyone to liberate.
Oh.
And yet that's a tyrannical government, and yet
Yeah.
all the gun nuts were just like, well, we're getting a bit of money from it, so fuck it, who cares?
Yep.
And then if
Yeah.
if you tried that shit, imagine if like overnight Nebraska, say, they found like an enormous quantity of nickel or something, like
Yeah.
like Nebraska became like the next big thing for mining, and
Yeah.
then fucking Iraq rolled in and went, excuse me, lads, we don't like your president. Got this bloke called Dave. We're going to put him in power. He works with us, and by the way, all that nickel, we're going to take that. Do you really
God.
think the Americans would be like, yeah, sure, fine, yeah?
No, we
It's
put
fine.
together our well-regulated militia and our
Exactly.
AR-15s.
That's when the Second Amendment would actually go, well, you've got a point. No one will be able to argue that. But because it doesn't happen on your soil, and the same
Yeah.
in this country, because it doesn't happen in the UK, that's why people like statistics, because it dehumanizes the situation. If you
Yeah.
say 20,000 people died in Iraq, you go, you can't quantify that.
Yeah.
If you see a video of 20,000 people being slaughtered day in, day out, over and over again, then you can quantify it. And that's why people are waking up and saying, well, hang on a minute. And this is the same with the shootings, going full circle back to what I was actually talking about. The fact that all this stuff is plastered. I don't
Yeah.
agree with vilifying the arsehole that does this. I don't think you should print their name. I don't think you should mention their fucking name, to be honest. You just say, another
Right.
cunt pulled the trigger. But you should, the information of what happened should absolutely go into the public domain, unfiltered, unregulated, on an unbiased network, on just a feed that goes, you know what, if you really want to know about something, go here and you
Right.
can watch it, you can see it yourself, you can listen to the people that are living it, and you can make your own decisions, rather than looking at through the Fox lens or the CNN lens or the fucking Yahoo on YouTube lens or the conspiracy theorist lens, and see it for what it actually is. Because then you will really see an awakening across the world, not just within our country or your country, but
Right.
people will band together and go, do you know what? That's tyranny. That's
Yeah.
destruction. Because the only reason why guns are in your country is because they make vast quantities of money for people that want to make vast quantities of money.
Yeah.
If kisses and honey made as much money as guns did, then everyone would be winning the poo. It's just how it fucking is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad place to end, because that was actually semi-uplifting, all things
Yeah.
considered.
It was.
So
We need
I would say that's a good place to tag an outro after everything that we just talked about.
Yeah.
That is not the worst. What are we at for uptime?
We're at 2 hours and 23
Oh, God damn it.
minutes.
Oh shit!
hours,
Sorry,
something.
guys. I've
Yeah,
waffled on.
we blow through time when we've got a fun panel like that. I mean, it just
Yeah.
goes quick.
Yeah. So, real quick, just like a little recap.
Yeah.
Nick, what are you for?
I
In terms
am
of
for
guns.
I'm for regulations on guns. I'm with Musty to the extent that I think would I like all guns to be gone in theory? Yes. Do I think that's a probable solution in America at the time? No, I don't think we will ever see that, at least in the next recent years. So, what I would like to see is for police, I would love to see an absolute flood of body cams so that they are held accountable for everything that they do. They found that in places that use body cams, they reduced shootings by like some crazy amount. Is it 60%? Something like
That's
that.
when people used body cams that couldn't be turned off or had to be activated manually,
Yes.
which unfortunately too many people or too
Yep.
many lobbyists and unions have fought for.
Yes,
which I
yeah,
think is
the
disgusting.
lobbyists are destroying them.
Yeah,
But
you could-
ideally, I'd like to see body cams for them if they want to keep their weapons. I'd like to see regulations. I'd like to see. I don't think sports rifles are heavily necessary. Handguns, I think, should be limited to lowest ammo clip we could possibly do, or just revolver wheel gun style. And hunting weapons, just everything should need more stringent checks and balances to make sure that people that have good mental health and are responsible can get them if so ideally I'd like to get rid of them all, but since that's not an option, more regulation to protect it. That's where I would stand.
Yeah, I pretty much agree on all levels of that. So, and Musty, I think you agree with us.
Yeah, I mean, I agree totally. I mean, I think it's, but again, I preface it with for you, because I think your country is
Yeah.
completely different to literally any country on the face of this earth.
Right.
I'm very happy in the stance that we take as Britain of having a blanket ban on all firearms unless you use it as a utility, whether you're a farmer or whatever. I'm happy with the fact that our police officers do not routinely carry firearms. I like the fact that people that do carry firearms, whether they're military or anything else, go through very stringent checks to maintain their mental capacity. And I think it's something that America could borrow from very much so. I think that two things need to happen. I don't think you need to ban anything other than money funding government. When you stop money funding government, this will all go away very, very quickly. Opinions will change. Isn't it funny when politicians go out of office, they suddenly change their view? It's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Parkland shooting. How many Republicans who voted over and over Sandy Hook, 5 and 6 year olds being blown to smithereens? How many of them voted against any sort of gun reform? And then they're going out of office and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, I think we should have gun control.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you see it a lot. People like, it was really fun to seeing watching Mitt Romney and people like Mitt Romney, or even the guy that's
McCain that just died.
McCain.
Yeah.
McCain.
I mean, God bless him. I mean, I think it's very sad that he died.
It is.
I mean, he had some horrible views, but you know one thing I will always credit him with? He didn't change his fucking mind for nobody.
Yeah,
he didn't give a shit.
At least respectable.
The very fact that President Obama is reading a eulogy at his funeral, and yet Trump can go suck one. So it's like it's the one thing. And I don't agree with McCain on a lot of things. I'm very against him. I think he was an incredible war veteran, and I think he's a true war hero because of what he did. He put up with torture not because he wasn't allowed release. They released him. He said, "You're not taking me without my men. I'm not leaving without my men." So they kept him, and he endured more torture. You don't get any tougher than that. So you can't take that away from the man. But politically, don't like his values. But
right.
But that you need more people like that. You don't have to have a government that all agree. It'd be fucking terrible. You'd end up like Venezuela if everyone agreed. Sorry, all the politicians agreed to take everyone's money.
Right.
The fact you've got such a divergence in opinion, it's just true opinion that you're lacking. It's true conviction that you're lacking, because everyone's scared of, well, I need to raise $2 million for the midterm. So, if I don't take that money from Farmer, or if I don't take that money from the MRA, then I'm not going to get reelected. And that's the sad thing about politics.
It is. It's all money. In fact, I'm struggling with money lately, so I'm thinking about trying to sleep with Donald Trump so I can make like $130K.
Go for it, dude. I would take a fuckload of opiates, to be quite frank with you.
I single-handedly restart carry on the opiate crisis by trying to do that.
More power to you. The only thing I'd fuck him with is a 2x4 with a nail for it. That's my own personal. That's a personal viewpoint. That's not a threat of life.
I would just sob uncontrollably while I spanked him with a while I spanked him with his magazine he liked.
What if he wanted to pee on you?
Yeah. What if he wanted to do a golden shower?
I hope that's worth more than $130K.
A cup of hot MAGA piss. That's not. I don't know.
Oh,
hot Trump piss.
How is the grossest thing you said in that sentence MAGA?
I love the fact that he's so obsessed with the whole P-tape thing. It's what makes you know that it's real.
Yeah,
you know it's real
for sure.
He would just go, yeah, whatever. It's the fact he goes, I definitely
if
did
someone
not.
accused me of having a P-tape out there, I'd be like, yeah, go ahead, go find it, bro. But if you're like, hey, there's absolutely no P-tape, you know what? Fuck you guys. Fuck you and the P-tape.
I'm the cleanest guy you've ever seen. I wouldn't have pee. I'm holding like Jake the dog, by the way. I'm just claiming that. It just show you he would the way he goes on about it, be like, there's no way there's a P-tape. Everyone goes, okay.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even pee. I can't.
Yeah.
It's not even physically possible.
I'm like a dehumidifier. I just naturally emit a mist.
Yeah, that's like, so you know it's out there. And
Yeah.
if there is a God, then we'll see it one day.
Well, if the week that he had last week continues, I think we'll have a Trump-free Christmas personally. But stranger things have happened.
Yep.
All right. Well, just a quick. I just wanted to just thank Musty for all the extra shout outs and everything on the Instagram and on your
Anytime.
Twitch. It's warms my heart. I just love. I
Well,
love
mate,
watching it.
I completely. Nix can. I mean, I found you guys through Twitch. I think I actually jumped in on your very first podcast.
Yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
because
First
I
one.
was scrolling through the podcast and then went,
Yeah.
well, that shit. I don't want to listen to someone eat popcorn into a fucking microphone.
Oh,
And we keep
God.
scrolling. And I saw you guys. I went,
That
okay,
is
beards.
unfortunate. I was
I'm
just
down
going
with
to
the beards.
suggest a popcorn
Yeah.
episode next week where we all three eat popcorn together into the mic.
As
so
long as
that's
it's not an
unfortunate.
ASMR fucking microphone, I've got no problem with it. It's just the
Yeah.
ASMR. I don't understand it. I've no idea.
Anyway,
And-
sorry, go on
and the-
with your flattery. I was.
And well, very quickly, the true testament to anyone that likes ASMR, I want to see you listen to a fat, gross guy eat sardines out of a tin. Then you can tell me you like ASMR just because you're watching some.
Oh my
fluffy-
God! I'm
Oh,
going
wow.
to get some sardines and eat them out of a tin into my mic when it's like, where's my?
Do you know why I know
sensitivity?
that
Yeah, like
won't
right
happen?
here.
Because you won't eat regular food in front of a fucking
No,
camera,
it's
so
happening.
you can
I'm gonna
shush.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get
You
on
go
it
have like
this
a 10-minute
volume.
break to go eat some
I'm
sandwich.
gonna
gonna
go
get
eat
on
my
it this
bologna.
volume.
I'll be back in 10.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I will airmail you a punch if you ever do that. You'll just have a fist in a box. But no, the flattery continued. Basically, I saw you guys. I was brought by the beards. I must admit, the beards did go up. I can relate to that, and jumped in. And then I must admit, I absolutely loved the podcast. And the same with Nick's streaming channel. I would not waste my effort or time or keyboard typing skills if I did not enjoy the actual content. So I think more power to you. Do not give up. Keep going. I mean, I can't even call myself a full-time streamer because I'm not yet, but I'm trying to get into that groove of getting out there. It's just A, finding the time, and B, finding the right sort of game that's going to kind of
Well, and that's it right there. Like I for a long, when you first came into my channel, I was more successful than I am now because I was in the midst of what I always call
Sorry,
my
dude, was it my
sellout
fault?
sessions. No, not at all. But
for
like
my song requests.
well, no, but it is every once in a while, someone like you or Cal, like somebody comes along and reminds me that the important thing that I do is build community. So when we're having fun and we have like 7 or 8 viewers on an Empyrean server building and having fun together, but we're not pulling in views, it reminds me that that's just as important as getting on Call of Duty and being like hitting 6 shots. Oh, 17 like new subs today. Like the building of the community and playing together and enjoying it is just as important, if not more important, than selling out to hit. Because how many Twitch streamers start Twitch streaming being like, "Oh, I'm gonna be ninja"? Like that's all they want. They just want that. That's what they want.
I mean, I play well. I mean, we do play other games, but I primarily play Fortnite with my son because it's a game that he enjoys and is obsessed with, and it's something that I, as much as it pains me, actually quite enjoy at the moment. I am actually quite enjoying it at the moment.
Nothing wrong with
that. But you know what? I am the first person to say I am shit at Fortnite. I'm good at aiming and killing people. Yeah. But you ask me to build something, and I automatically, it's like I've been shot in the thumb. I'm literally just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Which key does this? And this is the thing that I find frustrating. And the development of that, I think, is, and that's the thing, it's a mixture of people finding you at the right time. I feel like I found you guys at the right time because obviously it was your first go, and I could, I'm very picky. I'm super picky when it comes to enjoying stuff. I'm like the biggest flicker from one thing to the other. I'll go next as soon as I hear something, and I remained engaged from the first moment I started. I mean, I think it was Club Penguin that actually drew me in. That was the thing that. And I think I said something like, "I came for the beard, but stayed because of the debauchery," or something, or
the smug baggery of
tricking people out of coins on Club Penguin.
Yeah, yep, that's the way to live.
But essentially, you guys have such a way of talking, and the same with you. I mean, yeah, you play games that aren't the most popular,
Mhm.
And so I'll be completely honest with you, Terra, which actually when I get into it, I quite enjoy watching.
Yeah.
Haven't played it, but it's something that generally I won't even I will have you on, but I'll have you on the side and I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
engagement of listening to somebody,
Yes,
and that's
I
what
agree
Twitch
completely.
loses. And Twitch's biggest problem is a discovery of other people. It's very
Mhm.
difficult to
Yeah.
find people unless you are a prick or incredibly successful.
Yeah.
Let's get
Yeah.
it right. I mean, look at the fight yesterday with KSI and Logan Paul.
Oh,
Fortnite had
God.
470 concurrent viewers. The reason why, because half of the pricks were actually restreaming it from YouTube onto the Fortnite channel. And
Yeah.
there was one guy that hit like 200,000 views. He was like, "Oh, I've made it," and then Twitch just went instabanned, and then he
Yep.
just went away. So it's that kind of thing. But Twitch should almost have their own team that seek out content that is positive and sends an
Yeah.
actual message to people and
Yeah.
help cultivate them and help nurture them and
I
make
agree.
sure that they don't become because how many people burn out doing this? I mean, Nick, you
A
know,
lot.
because you
Yes.
obviously
Yeah.
you go through it
I
yourself.
have a higher burnout rate because I also struggle with my mental health, but it's easy for anyone to burn out doing because it's so stat based. And like you said, like even people like Ninja is wildly successful, and he still took it pretty hard when he took that 3-day vacation and threw a hissy fit because he lost all that money.
He lets out the real ninja every now and again.
Yeah.
He had it when when the whole ligma thing started about fucking ninja dying of ligma, which was funny as fuck.
Yeah,
For a meme,
yeah.
it's pretty good. And he literally after about 5 minutes of the first stream he had after it all came out, he
Yep.
told his admin start permabanning anyone that mentions ligma.
Right,
And it's
right.
just like, why? Just let it
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
happen. The worst thing you can do with a meme is give it fuel.
Yeah.
Don't
Oh
tell
yeah.
people you don't want to hear it because that's all you're gonna hear. It's
Yeah.
like
And sometimes it's too bad. Like I have to say, I laughed harder than I ever should have all the times that after Doctor Disrespect cheated on his wife and
just
got
about to
caught.
say that. I was just about to
Yeah,
say the exact same
when
thing.
he kept getting stream sniped by Doctor Disrespect Your Wife, that guy on stream, I probably sobbed for about 3 days straight laughing, and it felt shitty, but it wasn't that guy doing it. It was how mad Doctor Disrespect was getting.
It just shows you that who he is Doctor Disrespect is
Yeah.
a complete sham. He's not.
Yeah.
That's not him.
Right. It's
It's
a
just
character. He's
a
playing
dick in a
character.
wig.
Mhm.
Essentially that is decent. He used to work at Treyarch and he used to help develop old Call of Duty games,
Yeah.
and he's very good at what he does. He's a decent
Right.
player. He's no Shroud or fucking Summit, but he's
Right.
good. And I really enjoyed Doctor Disrespect, but more now it's just like ever since he went away after the whole
Yeah.
cheating thing and it came back, he just lost. I don't look at him the same. So therefore, I don't. Not that I fucking live my life by what Doctor said, but it
Right.
was just the fact of well, I don't really want to. Same with PewDiePie. We were talking. Me and King Cole were
Yeah.
talking about PewDiePie just before, where I lost so much respect after the whole M bomb incident when he was playing PUBG.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm still a free speech absolutionist because I think that you need to hear that. He needs to learn by that mistake, and he
Yes.
needs to learn by that. But the problem was 99% of his fan base are fucking waste of oxygen. They really are
Yeah.
because
Right.
they're just people that like Pepe the Frog and trolling fucking the left and saying racist
Yeah,
stuff because they
course.
just want to be edgy. If you sat one of these people down and went, what does that actually mean? What does that word mean to you?
Right.
And by the way, I've got a couple of friends of mine from Brixton who are now going to sit down and watch you say that, and then you're going to see what happens when you say that. But it's this, and it's the one terrible thing. The thing I keep going back to that I hate about social media and streaming in general is just there's people that have a message, a real message, a positive message, like you guys,
Yeah.
and yet you can't shout loud enough because all you keep hearing is just people for clout going, I want this, I want that, I'm playing Fortnite,
Yeah.
I want this, I want to wear a Supreme jacket. I'm going to do
You
this.
should have been around after for a while, we were literally hitting 30 some, 40 some views with people lining up around the block. We'd have like 15 people literally in line to like join us. Like, we do like play with Nixit sessions.
Mm.
When I decided, all right, guys, I'm burnt out. I'm going to take a break that was in Black Ops 3 about 2 years ago now. Literally I lost shitloads of money, shitloads of viewers, and they would every stream was when's Call of Duty next? When's Call of Duty next? Hey, when are you playing Call of Duty next? It was enough
You
to
still see it now.
literally chase
You
me
still
away.
do see it now. I
Yeah.
see when you're playing like Empyrean and stuff. You'll see
Yep.
someone jump in and go when you're playing Black Ops 3. It's
Yeah,
like, dude,
yeah,
that game's
absolutely.
like fucking forever. I mean, don't get me
Yes.
wrong. I love Black Ops 3.
I love the game, and I will play. The funny thing is, it's not gone forever. I can't. There's two Call of Duty and EverQuest are games that will never leave my repertoire. I just love them too much. I will probably buy and play Black Ops 4, and inevitably, when I burn out, people will rage when I be like, "When are you playing Black Ops 4 next? When are you playing Black Ops 4 next?"
But I'll be completely honest with you, Nix. I don't watch you because to watch you play games.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
I watch you because I like the message that you have. I like the positivity that you push. I like the inclusiveness that you push.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you can have fun with even with people that don't hold the same view as you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's the thing that I mean, I come from I come from like a radio background and then went into YouTube and started helping people with that and then got some success with my own podcast with some friends and yada yada yada. And now I'm at this stage where I'm kind of on my own, but I'm in a very privileged place because although I'd love to be able to do this full time, get paid full time and X, Y, and Z, but I'm already pretty comfortable because I have things set up. I have an incredible support base in my wife. I have money I'm okay for because of what happened with my leg and yada yada yada. So I'm in a privileged kind of place where I don't have to think about that side of it, but I
Yeah.
still have to think of the side that worries about who engagement, who's watching, who isn't watching.
Right.
But it,
Right.
but it from experience, it shouldn't. And it's easy to say, but when monetarily you're up against it, then it's very tough.
Yeah.
But you just got to keep going because your
yeah.
message, you personally, and you King Core, because I love the way you guys communicate and the way you guys work together.
Yeah.
There is no possible way you can fail at this unless you pull the trigger before you get to that point. Because there's going to come a time where people are going to move away from Twitch the same way that they moved away from YouTube. And I think it was
Right.
actually the best thing that could happen to that platform because
Yeah.
when they
Oh,
started
yeah.
demonetizing people, as much as it was a hit in the pants for a lot of people, it got rid of the shit. It got rid of the people that were just putting
Yeah.
content up, ripping people off because
Yes,
they
yeah,
got automatic
clickbaiting and shit.
monetization. Now that's harder. People aren't worth the effort, and now you're discovering people more.
Yeah.
And I think there's
can
going to come a
agree.
point, especially with Steam TV that's coming out soon, and various other platforms. I think a lot of the dick that is involved in Twitch will move on. They'll move
Yeah.
on to they were at Vine, then they came to YouTube, then they're on Twitch, and then they'll be on Instagram TV or something or some fucking stupid thing. Who knows? But
Right.
yeah, I love the podcast. I love coming on the podcast. I apologize if I ramble because I know I talk forever and ever.
Oh, we love
We
listening to
wouldn't
you.
invite you. Yeah, we wouldn't invite you on if we were worried about you monopolizing. We like hearing you. We like hearing your opinions and talking
Yeah.
to you, man.
No, I just want. I
Likewise.
mean, I just wanted to. You know, I really, it does warm my heart like so much, and I love you so much too. And you.
I love you too, mate.
Yeah, meeting you and reaching out to you and just having you involved in both of our communities, this Nevermind and my own, that makes it. That's the kind of shit that makes it worth getting up and streaming on days where I'm like, God, I don't want to listen to 40 people ask me to play COD. Oh, but Musty will be there probably. And
Yeah.
that'll be worth. Like that's knowing you and Cal and King Cord
Yeah.
are in my chat. That's enough to get on some days.
Well,
and
it's
I appreciate
likewise,
that.
and I think that's the reason why this cannot fail because as long as you have, it's real easy. It's so easy for people to say, and I struggle with demons myself. I'm by no way means am I some like Svengali fucking guru going, build this and they will come. It's not. It
First
doesn't
of
work.
all,
Like
I'm now going to give you the title Svengali Guru in my
okay,
chat.
that's
so.
fine. As long as you put Nanak at the end, like Svengali guru Nanak, I'm fine with that. But the thing that I'm so for is being yourself and being positive at the same time.
Yes.
I don't want a filtered version. I don't want to watch someone fucking minding their P's and Q's and not swearing if they want to swear. But I also want people that have an opinion. I'm an opinionated fuck. I always have been, and never will be. I enjoy arguing. I enjoy conversing about things, as you can probably already tell. But I also embrace other people's opinions. I'm not someone that says, well, you can't think that because I think this. I'm like, well, hang on. Let's get to a place that we can agree, or we can both appreciate the fact that someone has a differing view to my own. I don't hate people because they like Donald Trump. I hate people because in their hearts they're pretending to be something they're not. And I'd actually probably have more positive things to say about them if they were honest with things. But
right, like
that's for another podcast.
The actual person you hate the least is the Nazi over there, being like, I'm a Nazi and I like this president because he's a Nazi. And you're like, oh well, at least that guy's telling the truth.
Honest.
Yeah.
At least I can have a conversation. I mean,
at least that guy's telling the truth.
I've spoken to real neo fucking Nazis. I mean, I used to be a member of the anti-fascist league. So it is.
Right.
I walked into a tattoo shop once with a guy being branded with an Allen key. A guy was holding a blowtorch, heating it up, and then sticking it into this guy's arm. And in his own words, said smells like burning, and you can insert the trope from the Second World War that he was saying.
Yeah.
And the other guy replied, "Zig Heil." And I'm stood there,
Christ.
waiting to get a piercing in my ear with a bag that has swastikas with lines for it saying "Nazi punks fuck off." And I literally turned my bag over and just went, "Well, this is going to be an awkward one."
Yep.
I couldn't
It's
just
gonna be
go,
a rough day.
"By the way, racist fuckhead, I'm gonna leave now," because I mean, the guy that was piercing me was like 6'7", covered in tattoos. He was like a muscle on muscle, and just
his muscles had muscles.
and if I'd have gone, "Here, you got a different view," I'd have been in a dustbin like round the back. So yeah. But I appreciate people's honesty. If you want to be racist, but at least be willing to say why, not hide behind.
The hidden racism is what's more dangerous than the true outspoken douchey racist. I mean,
It's what validates
much
real
more
racism.
frightening. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
more about any sort of suppression, and that's the reason why people do it, is because of the outrage. Don't be outraged. Let them be. Just be. Well, I mean, within theory, if you don't want to let two gay people come and buy a cake from you, or have a cake made by you and pay money for you, that's their prerogative. And it's your prerogative to tell them to fuck off. But it's also your prerogative to then deal with the problems that then arises. If you're known as a baker that's also homophobic, then you're probably much going to fuck yourself over unless you're in somewhere very, very racist and very homophobic.
yeah.
So, and that's actually true capitalism. And the problem problem with capitalism is actually capitalism is quite a good thing if it's mixed in with socialism. But the fact is that capitalism is not capitalism; it's greed, and that is not capitalistic.
Personified greed.
If the crash in 2012 was truly allowed to be capitalist, the banks wouldn't be here now because they've gone out of business. Because capitalism is cutthroat. You're like, see you later. You don't make money.
You're out today, new company now.
Yeah,
exactly. But now it's become this thing that capitalism seems to be. Well, we just give money to rich people, which really isn't how the market operates at all.
Yep, that's not how.
Anyway, I'm going to shut up now because I've.
No, that's okay. We're done, but don't worry because guaranteed you'll be on another podcast and you'll be there for it.
Whether it be just in the interview room on our Discord or.
Oh yeah, anytime.
You're welcome in every episode for the end clip, like when we kind of just are like have nothing left to we talk for like an hour and a half, and then the last half hour we usually are like, well, now we better bring somebody in, otherwise we're just gonna say the same thing over and over.
Or get way off topic.
For the British view, what do you think about this?
We'll have it be a segment. We'll just have like the 30-minute like Musty's British view.
Yeah.
What's cooking Musty's goose?
All right. Well, we know him as MUSTYBRUCE, but his Instagram is Musty Goose, and he's got a Twitch channel. It's Zombie, right? Or no, Zombie for
Gaming.
We should have a shout out. We'll make a command for it.
Yeah, we'll get a soundboard and we'll just say Zombie for Gaming. Check it out.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get a command in for it so we can do a shout out.
I still want us to record some voiceovers together as well. I still think that should be a thing. It has to be a thing.
I'm definitely down for that. All right, guys. Just a little reminder: we do have a Reddit, and we also have that Discord. Nixon, can you throw that Discord command out for me?
Of course, baby.
You can find our post video on YouTube and also on Twitch, but Twitch takes them off after a certain amount of time. But you can go to that YouTube channel and check it out. Don't forget to follow us. Looks like we got 5 more until we hit 50.
Yeah, 45.
You can go for affiliation.
Yeah. So guys, if you
although you know,
sub.
with the
Hooray.
podcast, it's
Yeah.
almost worth not going for the affiliation right away because if you don't affiliate, you can restream legally. Whereas if
Yeah.
you affiliate, you can no longer restream.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
So
very
we should set up. I don't know if your PC could handle it, but if I logged into your thing, I wonder if I could restream it from my rig while you streamed it. I'll
I
have to
could,
play with that a little.
my rig could definitely restream it. There
Yeah.
would be no, and I've got no problems doing that. I can volunteer my CPU anytime.
Yeah, that's definitely something we might consider before, since we're getting close to the point of going affiliate, but we don't have enough of a following to fund via affiliation yet.
Yeah.
We might want to look into picking up some heavy restreaming, but that's an off-stream topic. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah. And so yeah, go tell your friends, your family, your grandma, your dog to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like all our videos. If you guys just want to hear our sexy voices, we have a SoundCloud, and that SoundCloud is connected to our
Ooh.
iTunes.
Yeah, it's not fair when Musty's on. I feel like when Musty's on, I have to suddenly be like, this is how I talk all the time. What are you talking about? This is my
No,
normal
because
voice.
if I get even posher and go hello,
When
James
you
Bond.
when you sound like that, you sound like a generic like sound bite that you would press in the middle of a discotheque style, like you'd be like bum bam 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 posh. Like I feel like that's like
I know more of
ready
it's over
for-
here is like,
who's ready for that
have you been-
drop? Posh.
have you been
like-
affected by a car accident? Then call Smith and Weston. Solicitors Law.
Smith and
The best
Wesson.
one, there's actually an amazing advert over in this country at the moment, very quickly, that goes, it's Cordell and Cordell Solicitors for men who are trying to get divorced by women. It goes, Cordell and Cordell, a partner men can trust. And it's
Oh
just,
god.
it's the fucking worst.
Oh my God.
no. That's bad. That reminds me of like in It's Always Sunny when they're trying to get cool dudes to their party and they make the flyer that's supposed to look like an arms flexing, but it just looks like a big penis.
Yeah.
It's one of the few ones I've actually seen, actually.
Yep, that's what that reminds me of. All right, I gotta stop talking.
All
I'm
right,
gonna
guys.
mute
We
my
also
mic
have
so you can finish the outro.
we also have the Facebook fan page and the Twitter and the Instagram. You want some extra bonus features? Check out that Instagram. We got backstage pictures. We got cool other shit on there. Backstage.
Back there.
That is. It almost looks like you're my puppet master. It's like his
It does a
hand
little
keeps
bit.
disappearing. Like
Yeah.
It's a little haunting.
it's
Oh, did
kind of-
my arm go?
Oh,
Oh god, yeah, it goes like right behind him. Like when you put it down in his arm, like when you go through his arm, it does. It looks like you're working him like a puppet back there.
the worst thing is when this finishes and I turn around, there's an actual hand still there. It's
That's
gonna
my
freak
hand.
the fuck out.
Yeah, it's my hand right
He's
there.
just really there.
Yeah,
What
bitch.
happened? Twilight Zone. I made Cal watch an episode of Twilight Zone the other day because she had never seen one.
Never
That's
seen the
unrelated.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, we watched the one where the lady. I was trying to say that so much of what we see as tropes now came from the Twilight Zone, like originally. So we watched
That's a
the
whole
one
of a
where,
podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we watched the one where she was driving across the country and the hitchhikers chasing her, but really she's died in the car accident at the beginning of the episode, and she was dead the whole time.
This sounds like a supernatural episode.
Right. Like so, she thinks she's being chased by somebody, but really it's either God or angels or death or whatever you want to personify
Yeah.
the hitchhiker as. It's really just some form of taking you to the afterlife.
So, is there any more? You have any more announcements? The only thing I just wanted to say
I'm
real
good.
quick is, guys, we've got the body positivity episode
Whoop, whoop.
next Sunday, and it's
Yeah,
with
you should call in on that,
Online.
Musty. Because Musty, you get to have you have a lot of thoughts on that even anyway.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have our girls on because me and Cord we're both chubby. We date chubby girls, and they're gonna come on. So we're gonna do a big one. But you should call in at the end.
Nice choice
Only
of
if
words.
you can call the podcast body positivity. We charge by the pound.
That's brilliant. But no, me and Cal like the word chubby. I think chubby's a nice way to say
I like
it.
Rubenesque.
Yeah,
What do you like?
Rubenesque.
Rubenesque.
I like
What-
the word thick.
Some people like thick, some people like chubby, some people like fat. They they
Dude,
try
I'm
to
from
reclaim fat.
Britain. I just get called fat fuck. They don't mince their words in this country, so you just get called
really?
it. No, you
Me,
call it
me
what you
and
like.
Cal just got super excited because some awesome ass like pod black man from, and we watched a clip where he poured a McDonald's drink over these fat shaming sluts that were like yelling at a fat guy at a McDonald's just because
Oh,
they
okay.
were
I thought it was
dickbags,
some
they were
sort of like
yelling at
weird
him.
fetish thing.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
no, no, no.
like
It
a
was a
feeder
normal
or
like
something.
video. They just walked in and they were just shit talking this guy who he was just standing in line at a wall or at a fucking to get
McDonald's.
a sandwich at a McDonald's, and they literally just walk in and for no reason start fat shaming him and calling him like a fat piece of shit and that he should better be ordering a salad. And this like just slightly chubby but giant like black guy just walks in, yells at him, gets in their face and says like, I've got a bit of a gut, you gonna say something to me too? And then just pours a drink over their heads. And they're horrified because they're just like these little like douchey posh like white chicks, and this
Yeah.
big black guy has just poured his drink all over him.
I love shit like that. I'm the world's worst because I've been out with
Right, it was definitely England. They were all English, yeah.
that doesn't surprise me at all. I've been on the tube before when I was much bigger, and me and the wife were on the tube, and this couple were looking and laughing. So me being me, I got off the train, and then went to their carriage, and then got on behind them, and just waited. And I'm just and then they're just like yeah. And they just kind of turn around and they just see my face just like inches from them, like a big smile on my face, and I'm gonna eat them or something.
Oh,
I love shit like that. I don't ever let things like that slide, and nor should anybody. Not the fact that I like berating people. I just love pulling people up on their shit. I think it's hysterical because the way to make a bully shrivel is just
we're
to
not
go.
King Cord, you have to copy that thing from Loreline. I'll show you how to make us editors so Loreline can actually add commands.
Oh shit.
But you can copy and paste what she just did, and that way
I
we'll
still
have a
love what she
command
did.
for it.
Thank you.
Is that a link or something on the
Well, no, you copy the whole thing that she wrote from command to the end of it and just like paste it in. You just don't have you don't have your mods set to editors in the bot. The bot's really specific about it.
Yeah, I'll have to
you
fix
can
that.
mess up anything, Loreline. It's my fault and King Cord's fault because when we set up the bot, we didn't make mods editors. And you're a mod in the channel via Twitch, but the bot itself has a section where you have to make editors who can actually alter the bot. I'll help you guys set it up the next week when we come over, or just sometime on the down.
Okay.
I'll show it to you.
Well, let's go ahead
Well,
and
thanks
end
for
it there.
having me, man. Thanks for coming on Musty, and thanks for having me
Anytime.
on. It's always
Truly anytime.
We send all the love we can to you and your family, and
Same back to you.
thank you so much. All right,
Ours will
guys.
sound a little bit better because we're British.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. All right, guys. Go check out all that stuff I said earlier and have a beautiful day.
Leave your bot up, King Cord, after I'll show it to you real quick.
All right, we'll see
Bye,
you guys.
everyone.
Peace.
Bye.